Pseudo-legendary Pokémon exist in a space between the ordinary and the mythical, creatures powerful enough to echo the strength of legends, yet still bound by the same growth and evolution that defines every trainer's journey. They stand as monuments to patience, requiring dedication and time to reach their final forms, and once there, they become forces that can shift the balance of entire battles. Tonight, we'll drift through the quiet history of every pseudo-legendary ever created, exploring the designs, the lore, the competitive strategies, and the hidden details that make these Pokémon so unforgettable. And the best place to start is where the entire concept first took shape, in the earliest days of Kanto, where a gentle orange dragon waited quietly at the end of a long and difficult evolutionary path. Dragonite was the very first pseudo-legendary Pokémon ever introduced, though the term itself wouldn't exist for years after its debut in the original Red and Blue versions. When Game Freak designed the Dratini line, they created something that felt intentionally rare, a three-stage evolutionary family that required patience and dedication to obtain. Dratini could only be found through fishing in specific late-game areas like the Safari Zone, and even then, the encounter rate was deliberately low. This scarcity wasn't accidental. It was meant to make the eventual power of Dragonite feel earned, a reward for trainers willing to invest the time and effort into nurturing a creature that began small and fragile. The choice to make Dragonite so difficult to obtain established a pattern that would define pseudo-legendaries for generations to come, the idea that true strength requires commitment. What made Dragonite especially surprising was how radically different it looked from its pre-evolutions. Dratini and Dragonair are sleek, serpentine creatures with an elegant, almost ethereal quality to their designs. Their bodies are long and graceful, their colors soft, blues and whites that evoke water and sky. Players who spent hours leveling up their Dragonair naturally expected the final evolution to continue that aesthetic, perhaps growing even more refined and celestial. Instead, Dragonite appears as a bright orange, chubby dragon with small wings, a rounded snout, and friendly eyes. The shift is so dramatic that it initially confused many players. Some even thought they had done something wrong. But over time, this unexpected transformation became one of Dragonite's most beloved traits, a reminder that strength doesn't always look the way we expect it to. The contrast between Dragonair's elegance and Dragonite's approachability reflects a deeper design philosophy at Game Freak. They wanted Dragonite to feel powerful but not intimidating, strong but not aggressive. This made it the perfect partner for a champion like Lance, whose Dragonite in the anime embodied both overwhelming battle prowess and a protective, almost parental gentleness. The Pokédex describes Dragonite as a creature that rescues people lost at sea, flying for 16 hours straight to guide sailors back to shore. This lore reinforces the idea that Dragonite, despite its immense power, is fundamentally kind. It's a guardian, not a destroyer, and that duality has made it one of the most enduring Pokémon in the entire franchise. And before we drift any further, maybe tap subscribe for more calming videos, and tell me where you're joining from tonight. Dragonite's stat total of 600 became the defining benchmark for all future pseudo-legendaries. This number wasn't chosen arbitrarily. It represents a careful balance between offensive power, defensive bulk, and enough speed to remain threatening without being overwhelming. Dragonite's stats lean toward a mixed attacking style, with high attack and decent special attack, allowing it to utilize both physical and special moves effectively. In the first generation, this versatility was groundbreaking. Dragonite could learn elemental punches like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, and Ice Punch, giving it coverage against a wide variety of opponents. It also had access to powerful Dragon-type moves like Dragon Rage, though the lack of a strong Dragon-type attack in Generation 1 limited its full potential. Still, Dragonite's flexibility made it a staple in competitive play, a Pokémon that could adapt to nearly any situation. One of Dragonite's most iconic traits in later generations became its hidden ability, Multiscale. This ability reduces the damage Dragonite takes when it's at full HP, effectively giving it an extra layer of survivability. Multiscale transformed Dragonite from a strong attacker into a setup sweeper capable of weathering hits that would normally knock it out. Trainers began pairing Multiscale with moves like Dragon Dance, a boosting move that raises both attack and speed, allowing Dragonite to turn into an unstoppable force after just 1 or 2 turns of setup. The combination of bulk, power, and speed made Dragonite a centerpiece of many competitive teams, and even decades after its introduction, it remains a relevant and respected threat in modern battle formats. Its ability to endure, adapt, and strike back has kept it in the upper echelons of competitive play longer than most Pokémon from its generation. The anime also played a massive role in cementing Dragonite's legacy. Lance's Dragonite in the Johto arc was portrayed as nearly invincible, effortlessly defeating opponents and showcasing the kind of raw power that made viewers believe in the strength of pseudo-legendaries. Later, Iris captured a Dragonite in the Best Wishes series, and that Dragonite had a fascinating character arc. It started out disobedient and aggressive, refusing to listen to Iris and acting on its own impulses during battles. Over time, through patience and trust, Iris was able to bond with her Dragonite, and it became one of her most loyal and powerful partners. This storyline reinforced the idea that pseudo-legendaries, while incredibly strong, are also deeply emotional creatures capable of forming meaningful connections with their trainers. The bond between Iris and her Dragonite became one of the most memorable trainer-Pokémon relationships in the entire anime. Dragonite's design also carries subtle references to Western dragon mythology, particularly the image of the friendly dragon who helps rather than harms. Its round, soft features make it feel approachable, almost teddy bear-like, which is a stark departure from the sharp, menacing dragons often seen in fantasy media. Early concept art reveals that this was always the intention. Game Freak wanted Dragonite to be a creature that children would want to hug, not fear. This choice influenced later pseudo-legendaries like Goodra, another dragon type with a gentle, friendly demeanor despite its immense power. The decision to make Dragonite kind-hearted rather than fearsome set a precedent that not all powerful Pokémon need to look aggressive, and that strength and compassion can coexist in the same creature. In the games, Dragonite also became associated with the Dragonite Island location in Pokémon Snap, a peaceful sanctuary where wild Dragonite could be found dancing and interacting with each other. This location added to the lore that Dragonite, despite being rare and powerful, has a social side. It's not a solitary apex predator, but a creature capable of community and joy. These small touches in spin-off games helped build a richer, more complete picture of what Dragonite is beyond its battle capabilities. It's a Pokémon that exists in harmony with the world around it, powerful enough to protect, but gentle enough to nurture. That balance is what makes Dragonite more than just a strong Pokémon. It makes it a symbol of what the series has always valued: the bond between trainer and Pokémon, the journey of growth, and the idea that true strength comes from kindness as much as power. As we drift a little deeper tonight, we move forward in time to Generation 2, where the concept of the pseudo-legendary was refined and expanded with the introduction of Tyranitar. Unlike Dragonite, which leaned into gentleness and protection, Tyranitar embraced raw, destructive power. Its design draws heavily quoted from kaiju films, particularly Godzilla, with a hulking, armored body, jagged scales, and a permanent scowl that radiates aggression. Tyranitar was meant to feel like a walking natural disaster, and its Pokédex entries reinforce this image. It's described as a creature so powerful that a single step can cause mountains to crumble, and when it goes on a rampage, entire landscapes are reshaped. This lore paints Tyranitar as one of the most dangerous non-legendary Pokémon in existence, a force of nature that cannot be easily controlled or stopped. Tyranitar's typing of Rock and Dark was groundbreaking when it was introduced. Generation 2 introduced the Dark type for the first time, and Tyranitar became one of the most iconic representatives of this new type. The Rock typing gave it incredible physical bulk, while the Dark typing provided immunities and resistances that made it difficult to take down with special attacks. However, this typing also came with a glaring weakness: fighting type moves. Tyranitar's 4 times weakness to fighting made it vulnerable to common competitive threats, but skilled trainers learned to work around this weakness by pairing Tyranitar with teammates that could handle fighting types. Despite this vulnerability, Tyranitar's sheer power and bulk made it a dominant force in Generation 2's competitive scene, and it remains a staple in modern formats even today. One of Tyranitar's most defining features is its ability, Sandstream. When Tyranitar enters the battlefield, it automatically summons a sandstorm, a weather condition that deals residual damage to all Pokémon that aren't rock, ground, or steel type. More importantly, the sandstorm boosts the special defense of rock-type Pokémon by 50%, effectively making Tyranitar even bulkier on the special side. This ability transformed Tyranitar into the centerpiece of sandstorm-based teams, often called sand teams. Trainers would build entire strategies around Tyranitar's ability to control the weather, pairing it with Pokémon like Excadrill, which gains doubled speed in a sandstorm. The synergy between Tyranitar and other sand abusers became one of the most iconic competitive archetypes in the history of Pokémon, and it solidified Tyranitar's place as one of the most influential pseudo-legendaries ever created. Tyranitar's role in the games also extended beyond competitive battles. In Pokémon Gold and Silver, the Larvitar line could only be found in Mount Silver, the final post-game area where players could challenge Red, the protagonist from the first generation. This placement was intentional. Mount Ascens. Silver was meant to be the ultimate test of a trainer's skill, and finding Larvitar there reinforced the idea that pseudo-legendaries are rewards for those who push themselves to the very end of the journey. Larvitar itself is a small, green, dinosaur-like creature that seems almost harmless, which makes its evolution into the towering, destructive Tyranitar all the more dramatic. The transformation from Larvitar to Pupitar to Tyranitar mirrors the journey of the player themselves, starting small and fragile, enduring hardship, and emerging as something powerful and unstoppable. In the anime, Tyranitar was often portrayed as a force of chaos. Wild Tyranitar were shown destroying habitats and causing panic among both Pokémon and humans. However, trainers who could earn a Tyranitar's respect found themselves with one of the most loyal and powerful partners imaginable. Ash encountered several Tyranitar throughout his journey, and in each encounter reinforced the idea that Tyranitar, while dangerous, is not inherently evil. It's simply a creature of immense power that requires a strong, confident trainer to guide it. This portrayal added depth to Tyranitar's character, showing that even the most fearsome Pokémon can be gentle when treated with respect and care. The duality of Tyranitar, destructive yet loyal, aggressive yet trustworthy, has made it one of the most compelling pseudo-legendaries in the entire series. Tyranitar's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. The armor plating on its body is said to be nearly indestructible, capable of withstanding explosions and extreme impacts without even leaving a scratch. Its tail is thick and powerful, used to smash boulders and create shockwaves that can knock opponents off their feet. Its eyes are hidden behind a permanent scowl, giving it an air of menace that few other Pokémon can match. Every aspect of Tyranitar's design is meant to convey one thing. This is a creature you do not want to fight, unless you absolutely have to. Yet despite this intimidating appearance, Tyranitar is also shown caring for its young Larvitar, protecting them fiercely and teaching them how to survive in harsh mountain environments. This protective instinct adds another layer to Tyranitar's character, showing that even the most fearsome creatures have a nurturing side. Slowly, the story widens as we move into Generation 3, where two new pseudo-legendaries emerged, each representing a different philosophy of power. Salamence and Metagross couldn't be more different in design, typing, or conceptual approach, yet both became instant icons in their own right. Salamence embodies the dream of flight, a dragon who spent its entire pre-evolutionary life yearning for wings, and when it finally evolved, it became one of the most aggressive and fast pseudo-legendaries ever created. Metagross, on the other hand, represents cold, calculated intelligence, a steel psychic type whose four brains work in perfect unison to outthink and overpower its opponents. Together, these two Pokémon define the Hoenn region's late-game meta and introduce new dimensions to what a pseudo-legendary could be. Salamence's lore is deeply tied to the concept of longing and transformation. Its pre-evolution, Bagon, is described in the Pokédex as a Pokémon that dreams of flying. It practices by leaping off cliffs, crashing into the ground over and over, hardening its head through repeated impacts. This relentless drive to achieve flight is both tragic and inspiring. It's a Pokémon that refuses to give up on its dream, no matter how many times it fails. When Bagon evolves into Shelgon, it becomes encased in a hard shell, a cocoon-like state where it prepares for its final transformation. During this time, Shelgon barely moves, conserving all its energy for the moment it will finally sprout wings. And when that moment comes, when Shelgon evolves into Salamence, the result is explosive. Salamence is a creature of pure joy and rage, ecstatic to finally have wings, but also aggressive toward anything that might threaten its newfound freedom. Salamence's design reflects this duality. Its body is sleek and aerodynamic, built for speed and maneuverability in the air. Its wings are large and powerful, capable of carrying it across vast distances at incredible speeds. But its face carries a permanent scowl, and its Pokédex entries describe it as a Pokémon that becomes enraged easily, often going on destructive rampages when angered. This combination of beauty and aggression makes Salamence one of the most visually striking pseudo-legendaries. It's a dragon that represents both the fulfillment of a lifelong dream and the danger of unchecked emotion. Trainers who can control Salamence's aggression find themselves with one of the fastest, most powerful physical attackers in the game, but those who can't risk being overwhelmed by its fury. Competitively, Salamence became known for its ability, Intimidate, which lowers the attack of opposing Pokémon when Salamence enters the battlefield. This ability gave Salamence an immediate advantage in battle, weakening physical attackers and making it easier for Salamence to set up with Dragon Dance. The combination of Intimidate, high speed, and devastating attack made Salamence one of the most popular sweepers in Generation 3 and beyond. Later, in Generation 6, Salamence received a Mega Evolution that took its design and power to even greater heights. Mega Salamence gains the ability Aerolate, which turns all normal type moves into flying type moves and boosts their power. This allowed Mega Salamence to use Return, one of the strongest normal type moves, as a powerful flying type attack. The result was a Pokemon that could break through nearly any defensive wall, cementing Salamence's place as one of the most fearsome pseudo-legendaries in competitive history. Metagross, by contrast, takes a completely different approach to power. It's not a creature of emotion or instinct, but of pure logic and calculation. Metagross is formed when two Metang, which are themselves formed when two Beldum merge, combine into a single being. This means Metagross has 4 brains working simultaneously, each one capable of complex thought and analysis. The Pokédex describes Metagross as more intelligent than a supercomputer, able to process information faster than any machine. This intelligence translates into battle. Metagross can predict its opponent's moves, calculate the optimal strategy, and execute it with ruthless efficiency. It's a Pokemon that doesn't rely on brute force alone, but on the perfect combination of strength and intellect. Metagross's typing of Steel and Psychic was incredibly powerful in Generation 3. Steel type was relatively new, introduced in Generation 2, and it provided resistances to a massive number of types. Combined with Psychic, Metagross had one of the best defensive typings in the game, resisting 9 types and only being weak to Fire, Ground, Ghost, and Dark. Its base stats are almost perfectly balanced, with high attack, high defense, and solid special defense. Its speed is lower than Salamence, but Metagross makes up for this with incredible bulk and the ability to hit incredibly hard with moves like Meteor Mash, its signature Steel type attack. Meteor Mash not only deals massive damage, but also has a chance to raise Metagross's attack, making it even more dangerous the longer it stays on the field. Metagross also became iconic due to its role in the games. In Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Steven Stone, the champion of the Hoenn region, uses a Metagross as his ace Pokemon. This was the first time a champion's ace was a pseudo-legendary, and it set a precedent that would be followed in future generations. Steven's Metagross was notoriously difficult to defeat, with high defenses, powerful attacks, and enough bulk to withstand even super effective hits. This battle became one of the most memorable moments in Generation 3, and it solidified Metagross's reputation as a champion caliber Pokemon. Later, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Steven's Metagross received a Mega Evolution, making the rematch even more intense. Mega Metagross gains a massive boost to its speed, transforming it from a slow tank into a fast, hard-hitting juggernaut that can outspeed and destroy most opponents before they even get a chance to act. In the anime, Metagross was often portrayed as an unstoppable force. Steven's Metagross appeared in several episodes, showcasing its power and intelligence in battles against formidable opponents. Unlike more emotional Pokemon, like Salamence or Tyranitar, Metagross is shown as calm and calculating, never letting anger or fear cloud its judgment. This makes it a perfect partner for a trainer like Steven, who values strategy and precision over raw aggression. The bond between Steven and his Metagross is built on mutual respect and shared intellect, a reminder that not all strong Pokemon need to be fierce or intimidating. Sometimes, the most dangerous Pokemon are the ones that think 3 steps ahead. There's a quiet comfort in remembering moments like these, where the games, the anime, and the competitive scene all come together to create a complete picture of what makes a pseudo-legendary truly special. Metagross and Salamence represent 2 sides of the same coin, One is a creature of motion and speed, the other a being of logic and precision. Together, they defined an entire generation's understanding of what pseudo-legendaries could be, and their influence can still be felt in the designs and strategies of every pseudo-legendary that followed. As we drift a little deeper tonight, we arrive at Generation 4, home to one of the most beloved and iconic pseudo-legendaries ever created, Garchomp. Where Salamence was aggressive and Metagross was logical, Garchomp is something else entirely, a perfect fusion of speed, power, and design elegance. Garchomp's design is based on a land shark, a concept that sounds strange on paper, but was executed so flawlessly that it became one of the most recognizable Pokémon silhouettes in the entire franchise. Its sleek, aerodynamic body is built for both land and air, with fins that act as wings and a streamlined head that cuts through wind resistance. Every aspect of Garchomp's design screams speed and efficiency, and when you see it in motion, whether in the games, the anime, or competitive battles, it's impossible not to be impressed. Garchomp's typing of Dragon and Ground is one of the best offensive typings in the entire game. Dragon-type moves give it incredible neutral coverage, hitting most Pokémon for solid damage, while Ground-type moves like Earthquake allow it to hit common threats, like Steel types that resist Dragon. This combination makes Garchomp incredibly difficult to wall, as very few Pokémon can resist both Dragon and Ground-type attacks. Defensively, the typing also has its advantages. Garchomp is immune to electric-type moves thanks to its ground typing, and it resists common types like fire, poison, and rock. Its only major weakness is ice, which hits it for 4 times damage, but skilled trainers learned to play around this weakness by switching Garchomp out when facing ice-type threats, or by eliminating those threats before bringing Garchomp in. What truly sets Garchomp apart from other pseudo-legendaries is its stat distribution. While most pseudo-legendaries have a base stat total of 600, Garchomp's stats are allocated in a way that maximizes its effectiveness in battle. It has high attack, allowing it to hit incredibly hard with physical moves. It has solid bulk, with enough HP and defense to survive hits from opponents that don't have super effective attacks. And most importantly, it has high speed, sitting at base 102, which was incredibly fast for a pseudo-legendary at the time. This speed tier allowed Garchomp to outspeed most other Pokémon in the game, turning it into one of the most dangerous sweepers ever created. A Garchomp that gets a free turn to set up with Swords Dance or Dragon Dance can single-handedly dismantle entire teams, and this threat level made it one of the most commonly used Pokémon in competitive play. Garchomp's ability, Sand Veil, further enhanced its power on sand teams. Sand Veil increases Garchomp's evasion during the sandstorm, making it harder for opponents to land hits. While this ability was eventually banned in some competitive formats due to how frustrating it was to play against, it showcased just how dangerous Garchomp could be when paired with the right support. Later, Garchomp gained a hidden ability called Rough Skin, which damages opponents when they make contact with Garchomp. Rough Skin became the preferred ability in most competitive formats, as it allowed Garchomp to chip away at opponents even when it wasn't attacking. Combined with items like Rocky Helmet, Garchomp could punish physical attackers simply by existing on the field, making it one of the most versatile and dangerous Pokémon in the game. Garchomp also became iconic due to its association with Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh region. Cynthia is widely regarded as one of the most difficult champions in the entire series, and her Garchomp is a major reason why. In Pokémon Diamond and Pearl, Cynthia's Garchomp has perfect stats, knows powerful moves like Earthquake and Dragon Rush, and can outspeed and destroy most of the player's team if they're not prepared. The battle against Cynthia became legendary among fans, and her Garchomp became a symbol of what a champion's ace should be: fast, powerful, and utterly terrifying. Later, in Pokemon Platinum, Cynthia's Garchomp became even more dangerous, as it was given better moves and a more optimized moveset. The rematch against Cynthia in the postgame is still considered one of the hardest battles in the entire series, and Garchomp is the centerpiece of that challenge. In the anime, Cynthia's Garchomp is portrayed as an unstoppable force. It defeats opponents with ease, moving faster than the eye can follow and striking with devastating precision. The anime emphasizes Garchomp's speed by showing it blurring across the battlefield, leaving only after images in its wake. This visual representation perfectly captures what makes Garchomp so dangerous in the games. It's not just strong, it's fast, and that combination of power and speed makes it nearly impossible to counter without careful planning. The bond between Cynthia and her Garchomp is also highlighted in the anime, showing that even the strongest Pokemon require trust and understanding to reach their full potential. Garchomp's pre-evolutions, Gible and Gabite, also have interesting lore. Gible is described as a small, round dragon that lives in caves and burrows. It's surprisingly aggressive for its size, often biting onto prey and refusing to let go. This tenacity carries over into Gabite, which is faster and more predatory, hunting in groups to take down larger opponents. The evolution from Gible to Gabite to Garchomp represents a journey from scrappy underdog to apex predator, a transformation that mirrors the player's own journey from novice trainer to champion. This thematic consistency makes the Garchomp line one of the most satisfying evolutionary families in the entire series. Garchomp's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. Its fins can fold down, allowing it to move through sand and soil as if swimming through water. Its body is covered in rough sandpaper like scales that can shred opponents on contact. Its jaw is powerful enough to crush steel, and its speed in the air rivals that of a jet plane. Every aspect of Garchomp's design is meant to convey one thing: this is a predator at the top of the food chain, a creature that has no natural enemies. Yet despite this, Garchomp is also shown as loyal and protective toward its trainer, willing to fight to the death to defend those it cares about. This combination of ferocity and loyalty has made Garchomp one of the most beloved pseudo-legendaries in the entire franchise. If you're still awake halfway through, maybe subscribe before you drift off, and tell me what time it is where you're watching from. Generation 4 also introduced another pseudo-legendary, one that often gets overshadowed by Garchomp, but is no less fascinating: Hydreigon. Hydreigon wouldn't be officially released until Generation 5, but its concept and design were developed during the late stages of Generation 4, making it a bridge between two eras of Pokemon design. Where Garchomp represents speed and precision, Hydreigon represents chaos and destruction. Its design is based on the mythological Hydra, a multi-headed serpent known for its regenerative abilities and relentless aggression. However, Hydreigon takes this concept and twists it. Instead of regenerating heads, Hydreigon has 3 heads that work in unison to destroy everything in their path. The 2 side heads don't even have brains. They simply act on the main head's impulses, biting and tearing at anything that comes close. Hydreigon's typing of Dark and Dragon is incredibly powerful offensively. Dark-type moves allow it to hit Psychic and Ghost types super effectively, while Dragon-type moves give it strong neutral coverage against most other types. This combination makes Hydreigon one of the best special attackers among pseudo-legendaries, as it can threaten a wide variety of opponents with powerful moves like Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, and Fire Blast. However, the typing also comes with a significant drawback. Hydreigon is 4 times weak to Fairy-type moves. When Fairy types were introduced in Generation 6, Hydreigon's viability took a major hit, as Fairy-type Pokémon like Azumarill, Togekiss, and Clefable could easily one-shot it with strong Fairy-type attacks. This weakness forced Hydreigon to adapt, becoming more of a hit-and-run attacker rather than a bulky sweeper. Hydreigon's stat distribution reflects its role as a special attacker. It has high special attack, allowing it to hit incredibly hard with special moves. It has solid bulk with decent HP and defense, but its speed is lower than other pseudo-legendaries, sitting at base 98. This makes Hydreigon slightly slower than threats like Garchomp and Salamence, but it's still fast enough to outspeed many common Pokémon. Hydreigon's ability, Levitate, is one of its greatest assets, as it grants it immunity to ground-type moves. This immunity allows Hydreigon to switch it into Earthquake, one of the most common moves in competitive play, without taking any damage. Combined with its powerful special attacks and wide move pool, Hydreigon became a popular choice for offensive teams that needed a strong special attacker capable of breaking through walls. One of Hydreigon's most iconic traits is its lore. The Pokédex describes Hydreigon as a creature that views everything as an enemy, attacking anything that moves without hesitation. Its 3 heads work together to consume entire villages, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. This portrayal makes Hydreigon one of the most terrifying non-legendary Pokémon in the series, a true monster that embodies chaos and aggression. Yet despite this fearsome reputation, Hydreigon is also shown as capable of loyalty when bonded with a strong trainer. In the anime, Iris eventually obtains a Hydreigon, and while it starts off aggressive and difficult to control, it eventually becomes one of her most trusted partners. This arc reinforces the idea that even the most dangerous Pokémon can be tamed through patience and understanding. Hydreigon's evolutionary line is also notable for how late it evolves. Its first stage, Dino, is a small, blind dragon that relies on biting to navigate its surroundings. Dano evolves into Zweilous at level 38, gaining a second head, but still remaining blind and aggressive. Zweilous then evolves into Hydreigon at level 64, making it the pseudo-legendary with the highest evolution level in the entire series. This late evolution reinforces the idea that Hydreigon's power comes at a cost. Trainers must invest significant time and effort to reach its final form, and those who do are rewarded with one of the most destructive Pokémon in the game. The journey from Dano to Hydreigon mirrors the journey of the player, starting weak and vulnerable, enduring hardship, and emerging as something unstoppable. Hydreigon's design also carries the subtle references to tanks and war machines. Its body is bulky and armored, its heads resemble gun turrets, and its color scheme of black, blue, and magenta gives it a mechanical, almost industrial appearance. This design choice ties into Hydreigon's lore as a creature of destruction, a living weapon that leaves nothing but ruin in its wake. The combination of mythological and mechanical elements makes Hydreigon one of the most unique pseudo-legendaries, a Pokémon that feels both ancient and futuristic at the same time. This duality has made it a fan favorite, and despite its weakness to fairy types, Hydreigon remains a popular choice in both casual and competitive play. Slowly, the story widens as we move into Generation 6, where 2 new pseudo-legendaries emerged with designs and concepts that push the boundaries of what a pseudo-legendary could be. Goodra and Kommo-o represent two very different approaches to power. One is a soft, gentle dragon with hidden strength, and the other is a warrior clad in scales that resonate like a battle drum. Together, they defined the Kalos and Alola regions' late-game encounters and introduced new dimensions to the pseudo-legendary lineage. Goodra is perhaps the most unusual pseudo-legendary ever created. Where most pseudo-legendaries are intimidating, aggressive, or imposing, Goodra is soft, squishy, and friendly. Its design is based on a slug or a snail with a gooey, gelatinous body that jiggles as it moves. The Pokédex describes Goodra as the weakest dragon-type Pokémon, which seems contradictory given its 600 base stat total, but this description refers to its gentle, non-aggressive nature rather than its actual battle capabilities. Goodra is a Pokémon that doesn't seek out conflict. It simply exists in harmony with its environment, and it only fights when necessary to protect itself or those it cares about. Goodra's typing of pure dragon is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it means Goodra is only weak to dragon, fairy, and ice-type moves, giving it solid defensive coverage. On the other hand, it lacks the secondary typing that other pseudo-legendaries use to cover their weaknesses or enhance their offensive presence. However, Goodra makes up for this with its incredible special defense, which is the highest among all pseudo-legendaries. This allows Goodra to wall special attackers with ease, shrugging off powerful moves like Draco Meteor, Thunderbolt, and Fire Blast without taking significant damage. Combined with its decent HP and access to recovery moves like Rest, Goodra can stall out opponents and outlast them in long battles. Goodra's ability, Hydration, is unique among pseudo-legendaries. When it's raining, Hydration cures Goodra of all status conditions at the end of each turn. This makes Goodra nearly impossible to wear down on rain teams, as it can heal itself repeatedly while taking minimal damage from special attacks. Paired with moves like Thunder, which has perfect accuracy in rain, Goodra becomes a dangerous special attacker capable of threatening opponents while remaining incredibly difficult to take down. Its hidden ability, Gooey, lowers the speed of any Pokémon that makes contact with it, further enhancing its defensive utility. This ability allows Goodra to slow down fast physical attackers, making them easier to handle for the rest of the team. In the anime, Goodra was given one of the most emotional storylines of any pseudo-legendary. Ash's Goodra, introduced as a timid Goomy, had a traumatic past involving the loss of its home to a group of hostile Pokémon. Over time, Ash helped Goodra overcome its fear and grow into a powerful, confident Pokémon. When Goodra's original home was threatened again, Ash made the difficult decision to leave Goodra behind so it could protect its homeland. This arc showcased Goodra's loyalty, bravery, and gentle nature, reinforcing the idea that strength isn't just about power, but also about courage and compassion. The emotional depth of Goodra's character made it one of the most beloved Pokémon in the anime, and it proved that even the softest pseudo-legendary can be a hero. Goodra's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. Its body is covered in a slimy coating that can dissolve anything it touches, a defense mechanism that protects it from predators. Its retractable horns can extend and retract at will, allowing it to sense its surroundings and detect danger. Its eyes are large and expressive, giving it a perpetually friendly, almost dopey appearance that contrasts sharply with the intimidating designs of other pseudo-legendaries. This design choice was intentional. Game Freak wanted to create a pseudo-legendary that felt approachable and kind, a Pokémon that players would want to befriend rather than fear. The success of this design is evident in Goodra's popularity, as it remains one of the most beloved pseudo-legendaries despite its unconventional appearance. Kommo-o, introduced in Generation 7, takes a completely different approach. Where Goodra is soft and gentle, Kommo-o is a warrior clad in scales that double as armor and musical instruments. Its design is based on traditional Hawaiian warriors and the concept of a dragon that uses sound as a weapon. Kommo-o's scales are arranged in overlapping plates that resonate when struck, creating a loud, rhythmic sound that can intimidate opponents or rally allies. This design ties into the lore of the Alola region, which is heavily influenced by Hawaiian culture and mythology, and it makes Kommo-o one of the most culturally significant pseudo-legendaries in the series. Kommo-o's typing of Dragon and Fighting is incredibly powerful offensively. Fighting-type moves give it super effective coverage against common threats like Steel, Rock, and Normal types, while Dragon-type moves allow it to hit most other Pokémon for solid neutral damage. This combination makes Kommo-o one of the best mixed attackers among pseudo-legendaries, capable of using both physical and special moves effectively. Its signature move, Clanging Scales, is a special dragon-type attack that hits all opponents in battle and raises Kommo-o's stats after use. This move perfectly encapsulates Kommo-o's design philosophy. It's a Pokémon that grows stronger the longer it stays in battle, turning each attack into an opportunity to become even more dangerous. Kommo-o's ability, Soundproof, is unique among pseudo-legendaries. It grants immunity to all sound-based moves, which includes attacks like Boom Burst, Hyper Voice, and Bug Buzz. This immunity makes Kommo-o a valuable counter to sound-based strategies, and it reinforces the theme of Kommo-o being a Pokémon that uses sound as a weapon while being immune to the same tactics from opponents. Its hidden ability, Overcoat, protects it from weather damage and powder-based moves, giving it additional utility in specific matchups. Combined with its solid bulk and powerful attacks, Kommo-o became a popular choice for teams that needed a reliable dragon type capable of handling a variety of threats. In the games, Kommo-o is associated with the vast Pony Canyon, a sacred location in the Alola region where dragon-type Pokémon are said to gather. This placement reinforces the idea that Kommo-o is a guardian of ancient traditions, a Pokémon that embodies the strength and wisdom of past warriors. The Totem Kommo-o battle in Pokémon Sun and Moon is one of the most difficult battles in the game, as the Totem Kommo-o is surrounded by allies that boost its stats and protect it from harm. This battle showcases Kommo-o's power and strategic depth, forcing players to think carefully about how to approach the fight. Kommo-o's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. Its scales are arranged in a way that resembles traditional Hawaiian armor, with overlapping plates that protect vital areas while allowing for freedom of movement. Its tail is long and powerful, ending in a large scale that acts as a drum, producing deep, resonating sounds when struck. Its eyes are sharp and focused, giving it an air of discipline and determination. Every aspect of Kommo-o's design is meant to convey one thing: this is a warrior Pokémon, a creature that has trained its entire life to become the best fighter it can be. Yet despite this martial focus, Kommo-o is also shown as honorable and respectful, only fighting when necessary and treating opponents with dignity. This combination of strength and honor has made Kommo-o one of the most respected pseudo-legendaries in the series. There's a quiet comfort in remembering moments like these, where the games, the anime, and the competitive scene all come together to create a complete picture of what makes a pseudo-legendary truly special. Goodra and Kommo-o represent two sides of the same coin. One is a gentle protector with hidden strength, the other a disciplined warrior with unyielding resolve. Together, they defined an entire generation's understanding of what pseudo-legendaries could be, and their influence can still be felt in the designs and the strategies of every pseudo-legendary that followed. As we drift a little deeper tonight, we arrive at Generation 8, home to one of the most controversial yet fascinating pseudo-legendaries ever created, Dragapult. Dragapult is a Dragon Ghost type Pokemon with a design that seems almost absurd on the surface, a sleek, stealthy dragon that launches smaller dragons called Dreepy from its horns like missiles. This concept, while strange, is executed with such creativity and charm that Dragapult quickly became one of the most popular pseudo-legendaries in competitive play. Its design is based on stealth bombers and fighter jets, with a streamlined body built for speed and a color scheme that evokes military aircraft. The juxtaposition of a cute, friendly Dreepy being launched at supersonic speeds creates a visual that's equal parts adorable and terrifying. Dragapult's typing of Dragon and Ghost is incredibly powerful, both offensively and defensively. Ghost-type moves allow it to hit Psychic, and Ghost types super effectively, while Dragon-type moves give it strong neutral coverage against most other Pokemon. Defensively, the Ghost typing grants immunity to normal and fighting-type moves, making Dragapult incredibly difficult to hit with common physical attacks. Combined with its high speed stat, which sits at base 142, Dragapult is one of the fastest Pokemon in the entire game. This speed allows it to outspeed nearly every other Pokemon, turning it into one of the most dangerous offensive threats in competitive play. Dragapult's ability, Clear Body, prevents its stats from being lowered by opponent moves or abilities. This makes Dragapult immune to Intimidate, Sticky Web, and other stat-lowering effects, allowing it to maintain its offensive presence throughout the battle. Its hidden ability, Infiltrator, allows its moves to bypass Light Screen, Reflect, and Substitute, making it a powerful wall breaker capable of ignoring defensive strategies. Combined with its wide move pool, which includes powerful moves like Dragon Darts, Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, and U-Turn, Dragapult became one of the most versatile and dangerous Pokemon in Generation 8. Its ability to adapt to nearly any situation made it a staple on both offensive and balanced teams, and it quickly rose to the top of the competitive meta. Dragapult's signature move, Dragon Darts, is one of the most unique moves in the entire game. It launches 2 Dreepy at the opponent, with each Dreepy hitting once for significant damage. If there are 2 opponents on the field, each Dreepy targets a different opponent. If there's only one opponent, both Dreepy hit the same target, effectively doubling the damage. This move perfectly encapsulates Dragapult's design philosophy. It's a Pokemon that uses unconventional strategies to overwhelm opponents. The visual of 2 tiny Dreepy being launched at high speed is both hilarious and intimidating, reinforcing the idea that Dragapult is a Pokemon that doesn't take itself too seriously, but is still incredibly dangerous. In the games, Dragapult is associated with the Lake of Outrage, a hidden area in the Galar region where powerful Pokemon roam. This placement reinforces the idea that Dragapult is a late-game reward, a Pokemon that players must work to obtain. Its pre-evolution, Dreepy, is described as a lonely Pokemon that yearns for companionship, often clinging to the heads of larger Pokemon in search of a friend. When Dreepy evolves into Dracloak, it gains a single Dreepy companion that lives in its horns. When Dracloak evolves into Dragapult, it gains a second Dreepy, and the 2 Dreepy become its primary weapons. This evolutionary line tells a story of loneliness transforming into partnership, a theme that resonates deeply with players and adds emotional depth to Dragapult's character. Dragapult's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. Its body is translucent, giving it a ghostly, ethereal appearance. Its eyes glow with an eerie light, adding to its otherworldly presence. Its tail is long and tapered, resembling the exhaust trail of a jet. Every aspect of Dragapult's design is meant to convey one thing. This is a Pokémon built for speed and stealth, a creature that strikes before opponents even know it's there. Yet despite this intimidating design, Dragapult is also shown as caring and protective toward its dreepy companions, willing to risk itself to ensure their safety. This combination of lethality and compassion has made Dragapult one of the most beloved pseudo-legendaries in recent years. In the anime and other media, Dragapult has been portrayed as a mysterious and powerful Pokémon, often appearing in dramatic moments to showcase its speed and strength. Its ability to move faster than the eye can follow makes it a perfect fit for high-stakes battles, and its unique design ensures it stands out in any scene. The bond between Dragapult and its Dreepy is also highlighted, showing that even the most battle-focused Pokémon have a nurturing side. This thematic consistency makes Dragapult one of the most complete pseudo-legendaries, a Pokémon that balances power, speed, and emotional depth in a way that few others can match. Slowly, the story widens as we move into Generation 9, where the newest pseudo-legendary, Baxcalibur, was introduced. Baxcalibur is a pure Ice-type Pokémon with a design that draws heavily from dinosaurs and medieval imagery. Its name is a portmanteau of Bax, referring to the massive blade-like structure on its back, and Excalibur, the legendary sword from Arthurian myth. This combination creates a visual that's both primal and regal, a creature that feels ancient yet timeless. Baxcalibur's design is sleek and imposing, with a body covered in icy scales, powerful limbs built for crushing opponents, and a dorsal blade that glows with frigid energy. Baxcalibur's typing of pure ice is both a strength and a weakness. Ice-type moves are incredibly powerful offensively, hitting common types like dragon, flying, grass, and ground super effectively. However, ice is also one of the worst defensive types in the game, with weaknesses to fighting, rock, steel, and fire. This means Baxcalibur must rely on its raw power and bulk to overcome its defensive shortcomings. Fortunately, Baxcalibur has the stats to do exactly that. Its attack stat is incredibly high, allowing it to hit like a truck with physical moves like Icicle Spear, Earthquake, and Glaive Rush. Its HP and defense are solid, giving it enough bulk to survive hits from opponents that don't have super effective attacks. Baxcalibur's ability, Thermal Exchange, is one of the most unique abilities introduced in Generation 9. When Baxcalibur is hit by a fire-type move, instead of taking super effective damage as expected, it gains a boost to its attack stat. This ability completely flips the script on one of Ice-type's biggest weaknesses, turning what should be a devastating hit into an opportunity to become even more dangerous. Combined with its high attack and access to powerful moves, Baxcalibur can turn unfavorable matchups into winning situations simply by taking a hit and retaliating with overwhelming force. This ability has made Baxcalibur one of the most feared Pokémon in Generation 9's competitive meta, as opponents must carefully consider whether to use fire-type moves or risk giving Baxcalibur a free attack boost. Baxcalibur's signature move, Glaive Rush, is a powerful dragon-type attack that deals massive damage but leaves Baxcalibur vulnerable to the next attack. This move embodies Baxcalibur's aggressive, high-risk, high-reward playstyle, sacrificing defense for overwhelming offense. When used correctly, Glaive Rush can break through defensive walls and eliminate threats before they have a chance to retaliate. However, the move's drawback means Baxcalibur must be used strategically, as a poorly timed Glaive Rush can leave it open to a devastating counterattack. This risk-reward dynamic makes Baxcalibur one of the most skill-intensive pseudo-legendaries, rewarding players who can predict their opponent's moves and capitalize on openings. In the games, Baxcalibur is associated with the snowy peaks of the Paldea region, where it roams as an apex predator. Its pre-evolution, Frigibax, is described as a small, curious dragon that lives in caves and burrows. Frigibax evolves into Arctibax, a larger, more aggressive form that hunts in packs. Finally, Arctibax evolves into Baxcalibur, a solitary titan that needs no allies to survive. This evolutionary line tells a story of growth and independence, mirroring the player's own journey from novice trainer to champion. The transformation from Frigibax to Baxcalibur is dramatic, with each stage representing a step closer to ultimate power. Baxcalibur's design also carries subtle details that speak to its lore. Its dorsal blade is said to store extreme cold, releasing it in controlled bursts during battle. Its claws are sharp and powerful, capable of crushing steel and rending stone. Its eyes glow with an icy blue light, giving it an otherworldly, almost mythical appearance. Every aspect of Baxcalibur's design is meant to convey one thing. This is a Pokémon that has mastered the power of ice, a creature that thrives in the harshest environments and dominates all who challenge it. Yet despite this fearsome reputation, Baxcalibur is also shown as loyal and protective toward its trainer, willing to fight to the death to defend those it cares about. Baxcalibur's place in the competitive meta has been nothing short of dominant. Its combination of high attack, unique ability, and powerful move pool has made it a staple on offensive teams. Trainers have built entire strategies around Baxcalibur, pairing it with Pokémon that can set up entry hazards or provide speed control to maximize its effectiveness. The sight of Baxcalibur on the opponent's team is often enough to force switches and careful play, as few Pokémon can safely handle its power. This threat level has made Baxcalibur one of the most respected pseudo-legendaries in recent memory, and it stands as a testament to Game Freak's continued ability to innovate within the pseudo-legendary formula. There's a quiet comfort in remembering moments like these, where the newest generation builds upon the legacy of those that came before. Baxcalibur, Dragapult, Kommo-o, Goodra, Hydreigon, Garchomp, Salamence, Metagross, Tyranitar, and Dragonite. Each one represents a different era, a different philosophy, a different approach to power. Together, they form a lineage that spans decades, a testament to the enduring appeal of Pokémon that require patience, dedication, and trust to reach their full potential. These are not Pokémon that are handed to you. They are Pokémon that you earn, and in doing so, they become more than just powerful allies. They become symbols of your journey. As the night grows quieter, we turn to the smaller details, the hidden mechanics and competitive strategies that have defined the pseudo-legendary experience across generations. One of the most fascinating aspects of pseudo-legendaries is how their stat distributions reflect their intended roles. Dragonite's balanced stats make it a versatile attacker capable of adapting to nearly any situation. Tyranitar's high attack and defense make it a physical powerhouse designed to break through walls. Salamence's high speed and attack make it a fast sweeper capable of outpacing and overwhelming opponents. Metagross's balanced bulk and attack make it a tanky attacker that can take hits and dish them back. Garchomp's high speed and attack make it one of the most dangerous physical sweepers in the game. Hydreigon's high special attack makes it a powerful special attacker. Goodra's high special defense makes it a special wall. Kommo-o's mixed attacking stats make it a versatile threat. Dragapult's extreme speed makes it one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. Baxcalibur's high attack and unique ability make it a devastating physical attacker. Each pseudo-legendary is designed with a specific role in mind, and understanding these roles is key to using them effectively. The competitive meta has also shaped how pseudo-legendaries are used. In Generation 1, Dragonite's access to Wrap and Thunder Wave made it a powerful staller capable of locking down opponents. In Generation 2, Tyranitar's Sandstream ability made it the centerpiece of sand teams, a strategy that remains viable even today. In Generation 3, Salamence's Intimidate and Dragon Dance made it one of the most popular sweepers, while Metagross's Bulk and Meteor Mash made it a reliable attacker. In Generation 4, Garchomp's speed and power made it one of the most dominant Pokemon in competitive history, to the point where it was eventually banned to the Uber tier in some formats. In Generation 5, Hydreigon's special attack and wide move pool made it a powerful wall breaker, though its viability decreased with the introduction of fairy types. In Generation 6, Goodra's special defense and hydration made it a valuable defensive Pokemon on rain teams. In Generation 7, Kommo-o's mixed attacking stats and clanging scales made it a unique sweeper capable of boosting its stats while dealing damage. In Generation 8, Dragapult's speed and dragon darts made it one of the most versatile and dangerous Pokemon in the game. In Generation 9, Baxcalibur's thermal exchange and high attack made it a dominant force in the competitive meta. Pseudo-legendaries have also been featured prominently in official tournaments and competitive events. Garchomp has appeared in countless World Championship teams, often as a core member of balanced or offensive teams. Salamence, especially in its mega form, has been a popular choice for hyper-offensive teams that aim to overwhelm opponents with speed and power. Metagross, both in its base form and mega form, has been a staple on bulky offensive teams that value consistency and reliability. Tyranitar has been a cornerstone of sand teams for over 2 decades, pairing with Pokemon like Excadrill to create devastating offensive cores. Dragapult has been a defining Pokemon in Generation 8's competitive scene, appearing on a wide variety of teams thanks to its versatility. Baxcalibur has quickly risen to prominence in Generation 9, becoming one of the most commonly used Pokemon in official tournaments. The presence of pseudo-legendaries in competitive play is a testament to their enduring strength and versatility. The move pool diversity of pseudo-legendaries is another key factor in their success. Dragonite can learn Elemental Punches, Dragon Dance, Extreme Speed, and Outrage, giving it a wide range of offensive options. Tyranitar can learn Crunch, Stone Edge, Earthquake, and Dragon Dance, making it a powerful physical attacker. Salamence can learn Dragon Dance, Outrage, Earthquake, and Fire Blast, giving it both physical and special options. Metagross can learn Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Bullet Punch, and Zen Headbutt, making it a versatile physical attacker. Garchomp can learn Earthquake, Outrage, Swords Dance, and Stone Edge, making it one of the most dangerous physical sweepers in the game. Hydreigon can learn Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, and U-Turn, giving it powerful special attacks and momentum control. Goodra can learn Draco Meteor, Sludge Bomb, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam, giving it solid special coverage. Kommo-o can learn Clanging Scales, Close Combat, Poison Jab, and Dragon Dance, making it a mixed attacker. Dragapult can learn Dragon Darts, Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, and U-Turn, giving it incredible versatility. Baxcalibur can learn Icicle Spear, Earthquake, Glaive Rush, and Dragon Dance, making it a devastating physical attacker. The sheer variety of moves available to pseudo-legendaries allows them to adapt to nearly any team composition or strategy. Item choices also play a crucial role in maximizing the effectiveness of pseudo-legendaries. Dragonite often holds Choice Band or Leftovers, depending on whether it's being used as a wall breaker or a bulky attacker. Tyranitar commonly holds Assault Vest or Choice Band, enhancing its special bulk or physical power. Salamence frequently holds Life Orb or Salamence Sight, boosting its offensive output or allowing it to Mega Evolve. Metagross often holds Metagrossite for Mega Evolution or Assault Vest for added special bulk. Garchomp typically holds Choice Scarf or Rocky Helmet, depending on whether it needs to outspeed faster threats or punish physical attackers. Hydreigon commonly holds Choice Specs or Life Orb, maximizing its special damage. Goodra often holds Assault Vest or Leftovers, enhancing its special bulk or providing passive recovery. Kommo-o frequently holds Throat Spray, which boosts its special attack when it uses Clanging Scales. Dragapult typically holds Choice Specs or Life Orb, depending on whether it needs raw power or flexibility. Baxcalibur often holds Loaded Dice, which increases the number of hits from multi-hit moves like Icicle Spear, making it even more dangerous. The right item can turn a good pseudo-legendary into a great one, and the understanding these item choices is key to competitive success. Team composition is another critical factor in using pseudo-legendaries effectively. Dragonite pairs well with Pokemon that can handle ice types, such as Heatran or Rotom Heat. Tyranitar pairs well with Pokemon that can take advantage of Sandstorm, such as Excadrill or Landorus Therian. Salamence pairs well with Pokemon that can remove Steel types, such as Magnezone or Heatran. Metagross pairs well with Pokemon that can handle Fire types, such as Rotom Wash or Gastrodon. Garchomp pairs well with Pokemon that can handle Ice types, such as Scizor or Ferrothorn. Hydreigon pairs well with Pokemon that can handle Fairy types, such as Heatran or Excadrill. Goodra pairs well with Pokemon that can set up rain, such as Pelipper or Politoed. Kommo-o pairs well with Pokemon that can remove Fairy types, such as Heatran or Excadrill. Dragapult pairs well with Pokemon that can handle Dark types, such as Clefable or Azumarill. Baxcalibur pairs well with Pokemon that can handle its weaknesses to fighting, rock, steel, and fire, such as Landorus Therian or Rotom Wash. Building a team around a pseudo-legendary requires careful consideration of its strengths and weaknesses, as well as the threats it will face in the competitive meta. EV spreads, or effort value distributions, are another important aspect of maximizing a pseudo-legendary's potential. Dragonite often runs a spread of 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP, maximizing its offensive stats. Tyranitar commonly uses a spread of 252 HP, 252 attack, and 4 special defense, enhancing its bulk and physical power. Salamence frequently runs 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP, maximizing its sweeping potential. Metagross often uses a spread of 252 HP, 252 attack, and 4 speed, balancing bulk and power. Garchomp typically runs 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP, maximizing its offensive output. Hydreigon commonly uses 252 special attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP, maximizing its special damage. Goodra often runs 252 HP, 252 special defense, and 4 defense, enhancing its special bulk. Kommo-o frequently uses 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP or a mixed spread if being used as a mixed attacker. Dragapult typically runs 252 special attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP, maximizing its offensive stats. Baxcalibur often uses 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP or a bulkier spread if being used as a wall breaker. Understanding EV spreads allows trainers to tailor their pseudo-legendaries to specific roles and matchups, maximizing their effectiveness in battle. Nature choices also impact a pseudo-legendary's performance. Dragonite often runs Adamant or Jolly Nature, boosting attack or speed respectively. Tyranitar commonly uses Adamant or Careful Nature, enhancing attack or special defense. Salamence frequently runs Jolly or Adamant Nature, maximizing speed or attack. Metagross often uses Adamant or Jolly Nature, depending on whether it needs more power or speed. Garchomp typically runs Jolly Nature to maximize speed, though Adamant can be used if more power is needed. Hydreigon commonly uses Timid or Modest Nature, boosting speed or special attack. Goodra often runs Calm or Modest Nature, enhancing special defense or special attack. Kommo-o frequently uses Jolly or Adamant Nature, depending on its role. Dragapult typically runs Timid or Modest Nature, maximizing speed or special attack. Baxcalibur often uses Jolly or Adamant Nature, boosting speed or attack. Choosing the right nature can make a significant difference in battle, allowing pseudo-legendaries to outspeed threats or hit harder. Move variations also offer different strategic options. Dragonite can run extreme speed for priority damage, Fire Punch for coverage against steel types, or Roost for recovery. Tyranitar can use Ice Beam for coverage against ground types, or Stealth Rock to set up entry hazards. Salamence can use Roost for recovery, or Hydro Pump for coverage against rock and ground types. Metagross can use Grass Knot for coverage against ground types, or Ice Punch for coverage against dragon and flying types. Garchomp can use Fire Fang for coverage against steel types, or Stealth Rock to set up entry hazards. Hydreigon can use Earth Power for coverage against steel types, or Roost for recovery. Goodra can use Dragon Tail to phase opponents, or Toxic to wear down walls. Kommo-o can use Earthquake for coverage against steel and poison types, or Dragon Dance to boost stats. Dragapult can use Sucker Punch for priority damage, or Will-o-Wisp to cripple physical attackers. Baxcalibur can use Ice Shard for priority damage, or Sword Stance to boost attack. The ability to customize movesets allows trainers to adapt their pseudo-legendaries to specific team needs and strategies. Shiny forms of pseudo-legendaries are also highly sought after by collectors and competitive players. Shiny Dragonite trades its orange body for a vibrant green, making it one of the most recognizable shiny Pokémon. Shiny Tyranitar replaces its green with a sandy gold, giving it a regal appearance. Shiny Salamence turns from blue to green, creating a striking contrast. Shiny Metagross trades its blue and silver for gold and silver, making it one of the most popular shiny Pokémon. Shiny Garchomp's color change is subtle, shifting from blue to purple, which some fans find disappointing. Shiny Hydreigon turns from black and blue to black and green, giving it a more menacing appearance. Shiny Goodra shifts from purple to pink, making it even more adorable. Shiny Kommo-o changes from gray and gold to white and gold, giving it an angelic appearance. Shiny Dragapult turns from blue and red to gold and green, creating a unique color palette. Shiny Baxcalibur shifts from icy blue to frosty white, enhancing its wintry theme. Shiny hunting for pseudo-legendaries is a long and difficult process, but the reward of obtaining a shiny version of these powerful Pokémon is well worth the effort for many players. Breeding mechanics also play a role in obtaining competitive pseudo-legendaries. Egg moves can be passed down from parent Pokémon, allowing trainers to give their pseudo-legendaries moves they wouldn't normally learn. For example, Dragonite can learn Dragon Dance through breeding, even though it doesn't learn it naturally. Tyranitar can learn Dragon Dance and Stealth Rock through breeding. Salamence can learn Dragon Dance and Hydro Pump through breeding. Metagross cannot breed, as it's genderless and can only reproduce with Ditto, limiting its egg move options. Garchomp can learn Outrage and Iron Head through breeding. Hydreigon can learn Dark Pulse and Earth Power through breeding. Goodra can learn Counter and Acid Armor through breeding. Kommo-o can learn Dragon Dance and Counter through breeding. Dragapult can learn Sucker Punch and Confuse Ray through breeding. Baxcalibur can learn Icicle Crash and Ice Shard through breeding. Mastering breeding mechanics allows the trainers to create perfectly optimized pseudo-legendaries with the ideal movesets for competitive play. Hidden abilities also offer alternative strategies for pseudo-legendaries. Dragonite's hidden ability, Multi-Scale, is arguably its best ability, reducing damage when at full HP. Tyranitar's hidden ability, Unnerve, prevents opponents from eating berries, though it's rarely used over Sandstream. Salamence's hidden ability, Moxie, boosts its attack every time it knocks out an opponent, making it a powerful snowball sweeper. Metagross's hidden ability, Clear Body, prevents its stats from being lowered, though it's less useful than its regular ability. Garchomp's hidden ability, Rough Skin, damages opponents on contact, making it a valuable defensive option. Hydreigon's hidden ability, Levitate, is actually its only ability, granting immunity to ground-type moves. Goodra's hidden ability, Gooey, lowers the speed of opponents that make contact, providing valuable speed control. Kommo-o's hidden ability, Overcoat, protects it from weather damage and powder moves, offering niche utility. Dragapult's hidden ability, Infiltrator, allows its moves to bypass Light Screen, Reflect, and Substitute, making it a powerful wall breaker. Baxcalibur's hidden ability, Ice Body, restores HP in hail or snow, though it's less useful than Thermal Exchange. Understanding hidden abilities and how to obtain them is key to maximizing a pseudo-legendary's potential. The lore and Pokédex entries of pseudo-legendaries also add depth to their characters. Dragonite is described as a guardian of the seas, rescuing sailors and guiding them to safety. Tyranitar is portrayed as a walking disaster, capable of leveling mountains with a single step. Salamence is shown as a Pokémon driven by the dream of flight, becoming aggressive when its wish is finally granted. Metagross is depicted as a supercomputer with 4 brains working in perfect harmony. Garchomp is described as a land shark capable of flying at the speed of a jet. Hydreigon is portrayed as a creature of pure destruction, viewing everything as an enemy. Goodra is shown as the weakest dragon type, not in power but in temperament, preferring peace over conflict. Kommo-o is depicted as a warrior Pokémon that uses its scales as musical instruments, creating sounds that intimidate opponents. Dragapult is described as a caring parent that launches its dreepy companions at opponents. Baxcalibur is portrayed as an apex predator of frozen wastelands, using extreme cold as a weapon. These Pokédex entries provide context and personality to each pseudo-legendary, making them more than just powerful battle tools. Cultural impact is another important aspect of pseudo-legendaries. Dragonite has appeared in countless pieces of fan art, merchandise, and media, becoming one of the most recognizable Pokémon in the franchise. Tyranitar has been featured prominently in the anime, movies, and spin-off games, often as a symbol of raw power. Salamence has inspired numerous fan theories and discussions about its tragic lore. Metagross has become a favorite among competitive players and collectors thanks to its unique design and powerful stats. Garchomp has been immortalized as one of the most iconic Pokémon in competitive history, with Cynthia's Garchomp becoming legendary among fans. Hydreigon has been the subject of countless debates about its viability and design. Goodra has inspired emotional fan art and stories thanks to its gentle nature and memorable anime appearance. Kommo-o has been celebrated for its cultural significance and unique design. Dragapult has quickly become a fan favorite thanks to its quirky design and competitive dominance. Baxcalibur has made a strong first impression, becoming one of the most talked about Pokémon in Generation 9. The cultural impact of pseudo-legendaries extends far beyond the games, influencing art, media, and community discussions for decades. Pseudo-legendaries have also been featured in various spin-off games and media. Dragonite appears in Pokémon Snap, dancing peacefully on Dragonite Island. Tyranitar is a playable character in Pokkén Tournament, showcasing its raw power and destructive capabilities. Salamence appears in Pokémon Mystery Dungeon as a powerful boss encounter. Metagross is featured prominently in Pokémon Ranger, where it serves as a formidable challenge. Garchomp appears in Pokémon Conquest as one of the strongest Pokémon available. Hydreigon is featured in Pokémon Rumble Blast as a rare and powerful ally. Goodra appears in Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon, where it plays a key role in the story. Kommo-o is featured in Pokémon Masters, paired with a trainer from the Alola region. Dragapult appears in Pokémon Unite as a playable character, showcasing its speed and versatility. Baxcalibur is expected to appear in future spin-off games and media, continuing the tradition of pseudo-legendaries being featured prominently across the franchise. These appearances help solidify pseudo-legendaries as some of the most important and beloved Pokémon in the series. The evolution levels of pseudo-legendaries also tell a story. Dragonite evolves at level 55, requiring significant investment to reach its final form. Tyranitar evolves at level 55, matching Dragonite's evolution level. Salamence evolves at level 50, slightly earlier than Dragonite and Tyranitar. Metagross evolves at level 45, making it one of the earlier evolving pseudo-legendaries. Garchomp evolves at level 48, requiring moderate investment. Hydreigon evolves at level 64, making it the latest evolving pseudo-legendary in the series. Goodra evolves at level 50 when leveled up in Rain, adding a unique condition to its evolution. Kommo-o evolves at level 45, matching Metagross's evolution level. Dragapult evolves at level 60, requiring significant patience to reach its final form. Baxcalibur evolves at level 54, aligning with the traditional late evolution levels of pseudo-legendaries. These evolution levels reinforce the idea that pseudo-legendaries are rewards for dedicated trainers willing to invest time and effort into their growth. The in-game encounters with pseudo-legendaries also vary across generations. In Generation 1, Dratini could only be obtained by fishing in specific areas or through the game corner. In Generation 2, Larvitar could only be found in Mount Silver, the final post-game area. In Generation 3, Bagon could be found in Meteor Falls, a late-game area, while Beldum was given to the player by Steven after defeating the Elite Four. In Generation 4, Gible could be found under Cycling Road, a hidden area that many players missed. In Generation 5, Dano could be found in Victory Road, reinforcing its status as a late-game reward. In Generation 6, Gumi could be found on Route 14 during rain, making it one of the easier pseudo-legendaries to obtain. In Generation 7, Jangmo-o could be found in Vast Pony Canyon, a late-game area. In Generation 8, Dreepy could be found in the Lake of Outrage, a hidden area in the wild area. In Generation 9, Frigibax could be found in the snowy peaks of Paldea, continuing the tradition of late-game encounters. These encounter locations add to the lore and mystique of pseudo-legendaries, making them feel rare and special. The anime has also played a crucial role in shaping the perception of pseudo-legendaries. Lance's Dragonite in the original series was portrayed as nearly invincible, defeating opponents with ease. Iris's Dragonite in Best Wishes had a compelling character arc, starting disobedient and eventually becoming loyal. Ash's Goodra in XY had one of the most emotional storylines in the series, showcasing its gentle nature and bravery. Cynthia's Garchomp in Diamond and Pearl was portrayed as a symbol of ultimate strength, reinforcing its status as one of the most powerful Pokémon. These anime appearances have helped pseudo-legendaries become beloved by fans worldwide, adding emotional depth and personality to creatures that could have been seen as just strong battle tools. Regional forms and variations have also been introduced for some pseudo-legendaries. While Dragonite, Tyranitar, Salamence, Metagross, Garchomp, Hydreigon, Goodra, Kommo-o, Dragapult, and Baxcalibur do not have regional forms, as of Generation 9, Goodra received a Hisuian form in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Hisuian Goodra is a Dragonsteel type, with a shell-like structure on its body, giving it a more armored appearance. This regional variant offers a different playstyle, with higher defense and a different typing that provides new resistances and weaknesses. The introduction of regional forms for pseudo-legendaries opens the door for future variations, allowing Game Freak to explore new design concepts and typings while honoring the legacy of the original forms. Mega evolutions have also been introduced for some pseudo-legendaries. Salamence received a Mega Evolution in Generation 6, gaining the Aerolite ability and a massive boost to its stats. Mega Salamence became one of the most powerful Pokémon in the game, dominating competitive play until Mega Evolutions were removed in Generation 8. Metagross also received a Mega Evolution, gaining a boost to its speed and attack, transforming it from a slow tank into a fast, hard-hitting juggernaut. Mega Metagross became a staple on offensive teams thanks to its ability to outspeed and destroy most opponents. The introduction of Mega Evolutions for pseudo-legendaries showcased Game Freak's willingness to innovate and expand upon existing Pokémon, giving them new forms and new roles in battle. Gigantamax and Dynamax forms were introduced in Generation 8, allowing all Pokémon, including pseudo-legendaries, to temporarily increase in size and power. While pseudo-legendaries did not receive unique Gigantamax forms, they could still Dynamax in battle, gaining increased HP and access to powerful max moves. Dragapult, in particular, benefited from Dynamax, as it could use Max Wormwind to lower opponent speed or Max Phantasm to lower opponent defense, making it even more dangerous. Garchomp, Tyranitar, Salamence, and other pseudo-legendaries also benefited from Dynamax, gaining temporary boosts that allowed them to break through defensive walls and sweep teams. The Dynamax mechanic added a new layer of strategy to using pseudo-legendaries, as trainers had to decide when to Dynamax and which moves to use. Terastallization, introduced in Generation 9, allows Pokémon to change their type temporarily, opening up new, strategic possibilities for pseudo-legendaries. Garchomp can terrestrialize into a fire type to gain resistance to ice moves, covering its biggest weakness. Dragapult can terrestrialize into a ghost type to boost the power of its ghost type moves and gain additional resistances. Baxcalibur can terrestrialize into an ice type to boost the power of Icicle Spear, making it even more devastating. Tyranitar can terrestrialize into a water type to cover its weaknesses to fighting and water. The terrestrial mechanic has added a new dimension to competitive play, allowing pseudo-legendaries to adapt to different situations and surprise opponents with unexpected type changes. Competitive formats also impact how pseudo-legendaries are used. In singles formats, pseudo-legendaries are often used as sweepers or wall breakers, taking advantage of their high stats to overpower opponents. In doubles formats, pseudo-legendaries can serve as offensive threats or support Pokémon, using moves like Tailwind or Helping Hand to assist teammates. In VGC, Video Game Championships, the official doubles format, pseudo-legendaries like Garchomp, Tyranitar, and Dragapult have been commonly used thanks to their versatility and power. Understanding the differences between formats is key to using pseudo-legendaries effectively, as their roles and strategies can vary significantly depending on the rule set. The legacy of pseudo-legendaries is also shaped by their impact on the metagame over the years. Garchomp's dominance in Generation 4 led to its ban in some competitive formats, showcasing just how powerful a well-designed pseudo-legendary can be. Salamence's Mega Evolution in Generation 6 became so powerful that it was also banned in some formats, reinforcing the idea that pseudo-legendaries, when given additional power, can become overwhelming. Dragapult's speed and versatility in Generation 8 made it one of the most commonly used Pokémon in competitive play, defining the meta for years. Baxcalibur's unique ability and high attack in Generation 9 have made it a dominant force, continuing the tradition of pseudo-legendaries being top-tier threats. The metagame impact of pseudo-legendaries is a testament to their enduring strength and relevance. Pseudo-legendaries have also inspired countless fan theories and discussions. Some fans believe that Dragonite's dramatic design shift from Dragonair was a last-minute change during development. Others theorize that Tyranitar's kaiju-inspired design was meant to rival Godzilla in pop culture. Salamence's lore about dreaming of flight has led to discussions about the tragic nature of its evolution. Metagross's 4 brains have sparked debates about its level of intelligence and consciousness. Garchomp's land shark design has been analyzed for its biological feasibility. Hydreigon's destructive nature has led to discussions about whether it can truly be tamed. Goodra's gentle demeanor has inspired debates about its place among pseudo-legendaries. Kommo-o's cultural significance has been celebrated by fans of Hawaiian mythology. Dragapult's quirky design has led to humorous discussions about the ethics of launching Dreepy at opponents. Baxcalibur's dinosaur-inspired design has been compared to other fossil Pokémon. These fan theories and discussions add depth to the pseudo-legendary experience, showing that these Pokémon are more than just stats and abilities. The music associated with pseudo-legendaries also enhances their presence. Champion battles featuring pseudo-legendaries are often accompanied by epic orchestral soundtracks that heighten the tension and drama. Cynthia's battle theme in Generation 4 is widely regarded as one of the best tracks in the series, and her Garchomp is a major reason why. Steven's battle theme in Generation 3 is similarly iconic, with his Metagross serving as the centerpiece of the fight. Lance's battle theme in Generation 2 is memorable for its intensity, reflecting the power of his Dragonite. These musical accompaniments help create lasting memories, making battles against pseudo-legendaries feel like epic confrontations rather than just routine encounters. The fan art community has also embraced pseudo-legendaries, creating countless pieces of artwork that celebrate their designs and personalities. Dragonite is often depicted as a gentle giant, protecting smaller Pokémon or rescuing people. Tyranitar is portrayed as a fearsome destroyer, leveling mountains and causing chaos. Salamence is shown soaring through the skies, finally achieving its dream of flight. Metagross is depicted as a cold, calculating machine, analyzing its surroundings with precision. Garchomp is portrayed as a fierce predator, dominating the battlefield. Hydreigon is shown as a chaotic force of nature, destroying everything in its path. Goodra is depicted as a kind, gentle creature, often interacting with smaller Pokémon. Kommo-o is portrayed as a noble warrior, standing proud and dignified. Dragapult is shown launching Dreepy with a playful yet intimidating presence. Baxcalibur is depicted as a majestic ice titan, ruling over frozen landscapes. This fan art not only celebrates the designs of pseudo-legendaries, but also adds new layers of interpretation and personality. Merchandise featuring pseudo-legendaries is also highly popular among collectors. Plush toys of Dragonite, Garchomp, and Goodra are commonly found in Pokémon centers and online stores. Figurines of Tyranitar, Salamence, and Metagross are sought after by collectors for their detailed designs. Trading cards featuring pseudo-legendaries are often highly valuable, with rare versions commanding high prices. Clothing and accessories featuring pseudo-legendary designs are also popular, allowing fans to show their love for these powerful Pokémon. The demand for pseudo-legendary merchandise is a testament to their enduring popularity and cultural significance. The future of pseudo-legendaries is also a topic of speculation among fans. Will future generations continue the tradition of introducing new pseudo-legendaries? Will existing pseudo-legendaries receive new forms, regional variants, or mega evolutions? Will the stat total of 600 remain the standard, or will Game Freak experiment with new benchmarks? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain: pseudo-legendaries will continue to be a core part of the Pokémon experience, representing the pinnacle of non-legendary strength and the rewards of patience and dedication. As the night grows even quieter, we reflect on what makes pseudo-legendaries so special. They are not just powerful Pokémon, they are symbols of growth, perseverance, and the bond between trainer and Pokémon. They require time and effort to obtain, patience to train, and skill to use effectively. They are not handed to you like starter Pokémon or gifted like event legendaries. They must be earned. And in earning them, trainers form connections that go beyond simple utility. These are Pokémon that have been with you through the hardest battles, the toughest challenges, the longest journeys. They are partners in the truest sense, allies who have grown alongside you from weak, fragile creatures into towering forces of nature. The quiet satisfaction of watching a Dratini evolve into Dragonite, of seeing a Larvitar become Tyranitar, of witnessing a Bagon finally sprout wings and become Salamence. These are moments that define the Pokémon experience. They are moments of triumph, of achievement, of realizing that the time and effort invested were worth it. Pseudo-legendaries embody this journey, this transformation, this growth. They remind us that strength is not just about raw power, but about the journey taken to achieve it. They remind us that the most valuable things in life are not given, but earned, and they remind us that true bonds are forged not in moments of ease, but in moments of struggle and perseverance. In the world of Pokémon, where hundreds of creatures exist, Pseudo-Legendaries stand out as something unique. They are not legendary, they do not have the same mystical aura or story significance, but in their own way, they are just as special. They are accessible yet challenging, powerful yet balanced, rare yet obtainable. They occupy a perfect middle ground between the ordinary and the extraordinary, and in doing so, they become some of the most beloved and memorable Pokémon in the entire franchise. From Dragonite's gentle guardianship to Tyranitar's destructive power, from Salamance's joyful flight to Metagross's cold calculation, from Garchomp's predatory dominance to Hydreigon's chaotic fury, from Goodra's gentle strength to Kommo-o's noble resolve, from Dragapult's quirky power to Baxcalibur's icy majesty, each pseudo-legendary tells a story, embodies a philosophy, and offers a unique experience, and together they form a lineage that spans generations, a testament to the enduring appeal of Pokémon that require dedication, patience, and trust to reach their full potential. The training process for pseudo-legendaries also deserves deeper exploration, as raising these Pokémon from their first stages to their final forms is a journey that shapes both trainer and Pokémon. When you first encounter a Dratini fishing patiently in the Safari Zone or at the Game Corner, you're not just obtaining a Pokémon, you're beginning a relationship that will span dozens of hours and countless battles. That tiny, serpentine creature is weak at first, struggling against opponents that fully evolved Pokémon would handle with ease. Every battle feels like a risk. Every level gained feels like an accomplishment. And as Dratini slowly climbs from level 10 to level 30, you begin to see subtle changes. Its stats increase, its move pool expands, and it starts to hold its own in battle. The moment it evolves into Dragonair is a relief, a sign that your patience is paying off. But you're still far from the end. Dragonair is stronger, more elegant, more capable, but it's still not the powerhouse you're working toward. You continue training, continuing leveling, and finally, at level 55, Dragonair evolves into Dragonite, and everything changes. The satisfaction of seeing that transformation, of watching the sleek blue serpent become a powerful orange dragon, is one of the most rewarding experiences in Pokémon. Dragonite feels different from the moment it evolves. Its stats are significantly higher, its move pool is vastly improved, and it suddenly becomes a force capable of carrying your team through the toughest battles. This emotional journey is what makes pseudo-legendaries special. They're not just strong Pokémon, they're Pokémon that you've invested time, effort, and care into raising. And that investment creates a bond that goes beyond simple utility. Dragonite isn't just a powerful team member, it's a partner who has been with you through the struggle, who has grown alongside you, and who represents the culmination of your dedication and patience. This emotional connection is why pseudo-legendaries hold such a special place in the hearts of trainers. The same journey applies to Tyranitar, though with a slightly different flavor. Larvitar is found in Mount Silver, the final area of Pokémon Gold and Silver, a location that represents the ultimate test of a trainer's skill. Finding Larvitar there feels intentional, as if the game is rewarding you for pushing yourself to the very end of the journey. Larvitar is small, green, and almost fragile looking, a far cry from the towering kaiju it will eventually become. Raising Larvitar requires patience, as it evolves into Pupitar at level 30, a form that is encased in a hard shell and looks more like a cocoon than a dinosaur. Pupitar is stronger than Larvitar, but it's still not the final form. You continue training, continuing grinding, and finally, at level 55, Pupitar evolves into Tyranitar, and the transformation is dramatic. The small, fragile Larvitar becomes a towering, armored beast capable of leveling mountains. The journey from Larvitar to Tyranitar mirrors the player's own journey from novice to champion, and the satisfaction of completing that journey is immense. Salamance's evolutionary journey carries a unique emotional weight due to its lore. Bagon dreams of flying, spending its entire pre-evolutionary life leaping off cliffs and crashing into the ground, hardening its skull through repeated failures. This relentless drive to achieve flight is both inspiring and tragic, as Bagon refuses to give up no matter how many times it fails. When Bagon evolves into Shelgon at level 30, it becomes encased in a hard shell, a cocoon where it prepares for its final transformation. Shelgon barely moves during this stage, conserving all its energy for the moment it will finally sprout wings. And when that moment comes, when Shelgon evolves into Salamence at level 50, the result is explosive. Salamence is a Pokemon of pure joy and rage, ecstatic to finally have wings, but also aggressive toward anything that might threaten its newfound freedom. Raising Bagon to Salamence feels like witnessing a dream come true, and the emotional payoff of that evolution is one of the most powerful in the entire series. Metagross's evolutionary journey is unique because it involves fusion rather than simple growth. Beldum is a small, single-celled organism with limited capabilities, capable of learning only one move, Takedown. Raising Beldum is notoriously difficult, as it has almost no offensive or defensive options and must rely entirely on Takedown to deal damage. Every battle with Beldum feels like a struggle, and trainers must be patient and strategic to level it up. At level 20, Beldum fuses with another Beldum to become Metang, gaining a second body and significantly improved stats. Metang is stronger and more versatile as Spelunky, capable of learning a wider variety of moves and handling battles more effectively. At level 45, Metang fuses with another Metang to become Metagross, gaining 2 more bodies and reaching its final form. The journey from Beldum to Metagross is a testament to patience and perseverance, as trainers must endure the early struggles with Beldum to reach the incredible power of Metagross. The reward for this patience is one of the most powerful and versatile pseudo-legendaries ever created. Garchomp's evolutionary journey is similarly challenging, but deeply rewarding. Gibel is a small, round dragon that lives in caves and burrows, often biting onto prey and refusing to let go. Raising Gibel requires patience, as it evolves into Gabite at level 24, a faster and more predatory form that hunts in groups. Gabite is significantly stronger than Gibel, but it's still not the final form. Trainers must continue leveling Gabite until it reaches level 48, at which point it evolves into Garchomp, one of the most powerful and feared pseudo-legendaries in the entire series. The transformation from Gibel to Garchomp is dramatic, with each stage representing a step closer to apex predator status. The satisfaction of raising Garchomp from a small, scrappy Gibel to a towering land shark is immense, and the bond formed during that journey is one of the strongest in the game. Hydreigon's evolutionary journey is the longest and most challenging of all pseudo-legendaries. Deino is a small, blind Dronseis that relies on biting to navigate its surroundings, often lashing out at anything that comes close. Raising Deino is difficult, as it doesn't evolve until level 38, one of the latest first-stage evolutions in the series. When Deino finally evolves into Zweilous, it gains a second head, but remains blind and aggressive. Zweilous is stronger than Deino, but it's still not the final form. Trainers must continue leveling Zweilous until it reaches level 64, the highest evolution level of any pseudo-legendary. At level 64, Zweilous evolves into Hydreigon, gaining a third head and becoming one of the most destructive special attackers in the game. The journey from Dino to Hydreigon is a marathon, requiring more time and effort than any other pseudo-legendary, but the reward is a Pokémon of immense power and versatility. Goodra's evolutionary journey is unique due to its weather-based evolution requirement. Gumi is a small, slimy dragon that can be found on rainy routes, often appearing weak and fragile. Raising Gumi requires patience as it evolves into Sliggoo at level 40, a larger but still somewhat ungainly form. Sliggoo is stronger than Gumi, but it's still not the final form. To evolve Sliggoo into Goodra, trainers must level it up while it's raining, either in-game or through weather effects. This requirement adds an extra layer of challenge to obtaining Goodra, as trainers must plan their training sessions around weather conditions. When Sliggoo finally evolves into Goodra at level 50, the transformation is dramatic. Goodra is a gentle giant, soft and squishy, but incredibly powerful, capable of walling special attackers and outlasting opponents in long battles. The journey from Gumi to Goodra is a testament to patience and planning, and the reward is one of the most unique and lovable pseudo-legendaries ever created. Kommo-o's evolutionary journey ties into the cultural traditions of the Alola region. Jangmo-o is a small dragon with a single scale on its head, often practicing its battle techniques by striking its scale against rocks and trees. Raising Jangmo-o requires patience, as it evolves into Hakamo-o at level 35, a larger form with multiple scales that resonate when struck. Hakamo-o is stronger than Jangmo-o, capable of using its scales to create rhythmic sounds that intimidate opponents. At level 45, Hakamo-o evolves into Kommo-o, gaining a full set of overlapping scales that act as both armor and musical instruments. The journey from Jangmo-o to Kommo-o is a journey of growth and discipline, mirroring the training of a warrior learning to master their craft. The satisfaction of raising Kommo-o from a small, inexperienced fighter to a noble warrior is immense, and the bond formed during that journey is one of mutual respect and trust. Dragapult's evolutionary journey is both challenging and emotionally resonant. Dreepy is described as a lonely Pokémon that yearns for companionship, often clinging to the heads of larger Pokémon in search of a friend. Raising Dreepy is a slow process, as it doesn't evolve until level 50, one of the later first stage evolutions in the series. When Dreepy finally evolves into Dracloak, it gains a single Dreepy companion that lives in its horns. And this transformation is both physical and emotional. Dracloak is stronger and faster, capable of launching its Dreepy companion at opponents. At level 60, Dracloak evolves into Dragapult, gaining a second Dreepy and reaching its final form. The journey from Dreepy to Dragapult is a story of loneliness transforming into partnership, and the emotional payoff of that evolution is one of the most satisfying in the series. Dragapult is not just a powerful Pokémon, it's a symbol of the bonds we form with others and the strength that comes from working together. Baxcalibur's evolutionary journey is similarly rewarding. Frigibax is a small, curious dragon that lives in icy caves and burrows, often exploring its surroundings with childlike wonder. Raising Frigibax requires patience, as it evolves into Arctibax at level 35, a larger and more aggressive form that hunts in packs. Arctibax is stronger than Frigibax, capable of handling tougher opponents and surviving harsher conditions. At level 54, Arctibax evolves into Baxcalibur, a solitary titan that needs no allies to survive. The transformation from Frigibax to Baxcalibur is dramatic, with each stage representing a step closer to apex predator status. The satisfaction of raising Baxcalibur from a small, curious explorer to a towering ice titan is immense, and the bond formed during that journey is one of mutual trust and respect. The competitive history of pseudo-legendaries also reveals fascinating trends and shifts in the metagame. In Generation 1, Dragonite was one of the most dominant Pokémon in competitive play thanks to its high stats, wide move pool, and access to powerful moves like Blizzard and Hyper Beam. However, the lack of strong Dragon-type moves limited its full potential, and it often relied on normal and Ice-type attacks to deal damage. In Generation 2, Tyranitar emerged as a dominant force thanks to its Sand Stream ability and incredible bulk. Sand teams became one of the most popular archetypes in competitive play, with Tyranitar serving as the centerpiece. Dragonite also gained access to Dragon Dance in this generation, transforming it from a mixed attacker into a powerful setup sweeper. In Generation 3, Salamence and Metagross both became staples of competitive play. Salamence's Intimidate and Dragon Dance made it one of the most popular sweepers, capable of setting up and sweeping entire teams. Metagross's bulk and power made it a reliable attacker, capable of handling a wide variety of threats. Both Pokémon saw extensive use in official tournaments and online battles, solidifying their status as top-tier pseudo-legendaries. In Generation 4, Garchomp became one of the most dominant Pokémon in competitive history. Its combination of high speed, high attack, and excellent typing made it nearly impossible to counter without specific strategies. Garchomp was eventually banned to the Uber tier in some competitive formats, a testament to its overwhelming power. In Generation 5, Hydreigon emerged as a powerful special attacker thanks to its high special attack and wide move pool. However, the generation also saw the rise of bulky fighting types like Conkeldurr and Terrakion, which could easily handle Tyranitar and other pseudo-legendaries. The metagame became more balanced, with pseudo-legendaries still being powerful but no longer completely dominant. In Generation 6, the introduction of fairy types had a massive impact on pseudo-legendaries. Garchomp, Salamence, and Hydreigon all gained a new weakness to fairy-type moves, forcing trainers to adapt their strategies. Mega evolutions also played a significant role, with Mega Salamence and Mega Metagross becoming top-tier threats in competitive play. In Generation 7, Kommo-o struggled to find its place in the competitive meta due to its unique typing and relatively low speed. However, it found success in specific team compositions, particularly those that could support it with Tailwind or Trick Room. Goodra also saw limited use in competitive play, often serving as a special wall on rain teams. In Generation 8, Dragapult dominated the competitive scene thanks to its extreme speed and versatility. It became one of the most commonly used Pokémon in official tournaments, appearing on a wide variety of teams. Garchomp also saw a resurgence in popularity thanks to its ability to Dynamax and its continued effectiveness as a physical sweeper. In Generation 9, Baxcalibur quickly rose to prominence, becoming one of the most dominant Pokémon in the competitive meta. Its unique ability, Thermal Exchange, allowed it to turn its biggest weakness into a strength, and its high attack made it a devastating physical attacker. Baxcalibur's presence in the meta forced trainers to adapt their teams and strategies, much like Garchomp did in Generation 4. The competitive history of pseudo-legendaries is a testament to their enduring strength and versatility as they continue to shape the metagame generation after generation. The role of pseudo-legendaries in story progression also deserves attention. In many Pokémon games, Pseudo-Legendaries serve as late-game rewards, Pokemon that players can obtain only after proving their skill and dedication. In Pokemon Red and Blue, Dratini could only be obtained by fishing in the Safari Zone or purchasing it at the Game Corner, both of which required significant effort. In Pokemon Gold and Silver, Larvitar could only be found in Mount Silver, the final area of the game where players could challenge Red. In Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Bagon could be found in Meteor Falls, a late-game area, while Beldum was given to the player by Steven after defeating the Elite Four. This pattern of late-game availability reinforces the idea that pseudo-legendaries are rewards for dedicated trainers, Pokemon that must be earned through skill and perseverance. The design philosophy behind pseudo-legendaries also reflects Game Freak's approach to balancing power and accessibility. Legendary Pokemon are often one of a kind, with lore that ties them to creation myths, world-ending disasters, or divine guardianship. They are meant to feel special, unique, and powerful, but they are also limited in availability and often restricted in competitive formats. Pseudo-legendaries, on the other hand, are powerful but not unique. Multiple trainers can have the same pseudo-legendary, and they can be bred, traded, and used in most competitive formats. This accessibility makes them more relatable and attainable, while their high stats and late evolution levels ensure they still feel special and rewarding to obtain. The balance between power and accessibility is what makes pseudo-legendaries such an important part of the Pokemon experience. The Pokédex lore of pseudo-legendaries also adds layers of depth and personality to these Pokemon. Dragonite's Pokédex entries describe it as a benevolent creature that rescues people lost at sea, flying for 16 hours straight to guide sailors back to shore. This lore paints Dragonite as a guardian, a protector, a Pokemon that uses its immense power for good. Tyranitar's Pokédex entries, on the other hand, describe it as a walking disaster, a creature so powerful that a single step can cause mountains to crumble. This lore paints Tyranitar as a force of nature, a Pokemon that must be respected and feared. Salamence's Pokédex entries describe it as a Pokemon that becomes enraged easily, often going on destructive rampages when angered. This lore adds emotional depth to Salamence, showing that its dream of flight comes with a cost. Metagross's Pokédex entries describe it as more intelligent than a supercomputer, capable of processing information faster than any machine. This lore reinforces the idea that Metagross is not just strong, but also incredibly smart, a Pokemon that can outthink as well as overpower its opponents. Garchomp's Pokédex entries describe it as a land shark capable of flying at the speed of a jet, a predator that has no natural enemies. This lore paints Garchomp as an apex predator, a creature at the top of the food chain. Hydreigon's Pokédex entries describe it as a creature that views everything as an enemy, attacking anything that moves without hesitation. This lore reinforces Hydreigon's reputation as one of the most dangerous non-legendary Pokemon in the series. Goodra's Pokédex entries describe it as the weakest dragon type, not in power, but in temperament, preferring peace over conflict. This lore adds emotional depth to Goodra, showing that strength is not just about aggression, but also about kindness and compassion. Kommo-o's Pokédex entries describe it as a warrior Pokemon that uses its scales as musical instruments, creating sounds that intimidate opponents or rally allies. This lore ties into the cultural traditions of the Alola region, making Kommo-o one of the most culturally significant pseudo-legendaries. Dragapult's Pokédex entries describe it as a caring parent that launches its dreepy companions at opponents, a Pokemon that balances lethality with nurturing. This lore adds emotional resonance to Dragapult, showing that even the most dangerous Pokémon have a gentle side. Baxcalibur's Pokédex entries describe it as an apex predator of frozen wastelands, using extreme cold as a weapon to dominate all who challenge it. This lore paints Baxcalibur as a titan of ice, a creature that thrives in the harshest environments and fears nothing. The Pokédex lore of pseudo-legendaries adds depth and personality to these Pokémon, making them more than just stats and abilities. They are creatures with histories, motivations, and personalities, and the understanding this lore helps the trainers connect with them on a deeper level. The community perception of pseudo-legendaries has also evolved over the years. In the early days of this franchise, Dragonite was seen as the ultimate non-legendary Pokémon, a creature that represented the pinnacle of power and versatility. As new pseudo-legendaries were introduced, the community began to compare and debate which one was the best. Tyranitar was praised for its bulk and Sandstream ability, Salamence for its speed and Dragon Dance, Metagross for its intelligence and reliability. Garchomp became widely regarded as the best pseudo-legendary due to its combination of speed, power, and typing, and it held that title for many years. However, with the introduction of fairy types in Generation 6, Garchomp's dominance waned, and the community began to reevaluate other pseudo-legendaries. Dragapult's introduction in Generation 8 sparked new debates, as its extreme speed and versatility made it one of the most powerful pseudo-legendaries ever created. Baxcalibur's unique ability and high attack in Generation 9 continued this trend, proving that Game Freak is still capable of creating pseudo-legendaries that can compete with or surpass the classics. The community perception of pseudo-legendaries is constantly evolving, shaped by new releases, metagame shifts, and changing strategies. But one thing remains constant: pseudo-legendaries are beloved by the community, celebrated for their power, their designs, and their emotional resonance. The storytelling potential of pseudo-legendaries also extends beyond the games themselves. In the Pokémon Adventures manga, pseudo-legendaries are often featured prominently, serving as the ace Pokémon of Elite Four members and champions. Lance's Dragonite in the manga is portrayed as even more powerful than in the games, capable of feats like using Hyper Beam to destroy entire buildings. Silver's Tyranitar is shown as a symbol of his growth as a trainer, starting out as an uncontrollable Larvitar and eventually becoming a loyal and powerful partner. These manga portrayals add depth to pseudo-legendaries, showing them as more than just battle tools, but as characters with personalities and arcs of their own. In the Pokémon movies, pseudo-legendaries have also played significant roles. Dragonite appeared in the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, as a messenger delivering invitations to trainers. Tyranitar appeared in Spell of the Unknown, where it was used by the Unknown to create a crystal fortress. Salamence appeared in Jirachi Wishmaker, where it was used by the antagonist as a powerful battle Pokémon. Metagross appeared in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, where it belonged to a trainer competing in a tournament. These movie appearances helped cement pseudo-legendaries as iconic Pokémon, recognizable even to casual fans who may not have played the games. The symbolism of pseudo-legendaries also resonates deeply with players. They represent the idea that greatness is not given, but earned, that true strength comes from dedication and perseverance. They embody the journey from weakness to power, from fragility to resilience, from uncertainty to confidence. When a trainer raises a Dratini to a Dragonite, they're not just leveling up a Pokémon, they're experiencing a transformation that mirrors their own growth as a trainer. When a trainer raises a Larvitar to a Tyranitar, they're witnessing the culmination of patience and hard work. When a trainer raises a Bagon to a Salamence, they're seeing a dream come true. This symbolism is what makes pseudo-legendaries so powerful, not just in battle, but in the hearts of players. The accessibility of pseudo-legendaries in modern games has also changed over the years. In early generations, obtaining a pseudo-legendary required significant effort, whether it was fishing for hours in the Safari Zone, grinding levels in Mount Silver, or waiting until the post-game to receive a Beldum from Steven. In more recent generations, pseudo-legendaries have become somewhat easier to obtain, with some appearing earlier in the game or being available through in-game events. However, their late evolution levels ensure they still require significant investment to reach their full potential. This balance between accessibility and challenge is what makes pseudo-legendaries feel rewarding without being frustrating. The breeding mechanics surrounding pseudo-legendaries have also evolved over the years. In Generation 2, breeding was introduced, allowing trainers to obtain baby Pokémon with inherited moves and abilities. This opened up new possibilities for pseudo-legendaries, as trainers could breed Dragonite to pass down moves like Dragon Dance, or breed Tyranitar to pass down moves like Stealth Rock. In Generation 3, abilities were introduced, and breeding became even more important, as trainers could breed for hidden abilities. In Generation 4, breeding for perfect IVs became a major focus for competitive players, and pseudo-legendaries were among the most commonly bred Pokémon due to their high stats and versatility. In Generation 5, the introduction of the Shiny Charm made shiny hunting for pseudo-legendaries slightly easier, though it still required significant effort. In Generation 6, the introduction of Destiny Knot made breeding for perfect IVs much easier, allowing trainers to create competitively viable pseudo-legendaries more quickly. In Generation 7, the introduction of Hyper Training allowed trainers to maximize the IVs of any Pokémon, reducing the need for extensive breeding. In Generation 8, the introduction of Mints allowed trainers to change a Pokémon's nature, further streamlining the process of creating competitively viable pseudo-legendaries. These quality-of-life improvements have made it easier to obtain and train pseudo-legendaries, but the core experience of raising them from weak first stages to powerful final forms remains unchanged. The role of pseudo-legendaries in player teams also varies depending on playstyle and preferences. Some players prefer to use pseudo-legendaries as sweepers, relying on their high stats and powerful moves to overwhelm opponents. Others prefer to use them as tanks, taking advantage of their bulk and defensive capabilities to outlast opponents. Some players use pseudo-legendaries as support Pokémon, setting up entry hazards or providing speed control for the rest of the team. The versatility of pseudo-legendaries allows them to fill nearly any role, making them valuable additions to any team composition. The emotional attachment players feel toward their pseudo-legendaries is also a significant part of the experience. Many players have stories of their first Dragonite, their first Garchomp, their first Salamence. These Pokémon represent milestones in their journey, symbols of their growth as trainers. The bond formed during the long process of raising a pseudo-legendary from its first stage to its final form is often stronger than the bonds formed with Pokémon that evolve quickly or are obtained fully evolved. This emotional connection is what makes pseudo-legendaries so special. They're not just powerful tools, but cherished partners. The future of pseudo-legendaries remains uncertain, but exciting. Will future generations continue to introduce new pseudo-legendaries, each with unique designs, typings, and abilities? Will existing pseudo-legendaries receive new forms, regional variants, or mega evolutions? Will Game Freak experiment with new stat totals or evolution requirements? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain: pseudo-legendaries will continue to be a core part of the Pokemon experience. They represent the pinnacle of non-legendary strength, the rewards of patience and dedication, and the bonds that form between trainers and their Pokemon. As long as Pokemon continues to evolve and grow, pseudo-legendaries will remain an essential part of that journey. As the night grows quieter still, we reflect on the legacy of pseudo-legendaries and what they mean to the Pokemon franchise. They are more than just powerful Pokemon. They are symbols of growth, perseverance, and the journey from weakness to strength. They require time, effort, and dedication to obtain and train, and in doing so, they become more than just team members. They become partners. From Dragonite's gentle guardianship to Baxcalibur's icy majesty, from Tyranitar's destructive power to Goodra's gentle strength, each pseudo-legendary tells a story, embodies a philosophy, and offers a unique experience. And together, they form a lineage that spans generations, a testament to the enduring appeal of Pokemon that must be earned through patience, dedication, and trust. The regional cultural significance of pseudo-legendaries also deserves deeper exploration. In Japan, where Pokemon originated, pseudo-legendaries hold a special place in the competitive community. Japanese players were among the first to discover optimal strategies for using Garchomp, Salamence, and Metagross, sharing their findings through online forums and competitive events. The Japanese Pokemon Center stores often feature exclusive pseudo-legendary merchandise, including plush toys, figurines, and clothing that can't be found anywhere else. This regional exclusivity has made Japanese pseudo-legendary merchandise highly sought after by collectors worldwide. In the Western competitive scene, pseudo-legendaries have been equally influential. American and European players have developed unique strategies for using pseudo-legendaries, often focusing on different aspects than their Japanese counterparts. For example, Western players were among the first to popularize the use of Choice Scarf Garchomp, a set that prioritizes outspeeding opponents over raw power. Western players also pioneered the use of bulky Tyranitar sets that maximize special bulk through Assault Vest, creating a Pokemon that can wall special attackers while still threatening with powerful physical moves. These regional differences in strategy have enriched the competitive meta, showing that there are multiple valid approaches to using pseudo-legendaries effectively. The streaming and content creation community has also embraced pseudo-legendaries. Popular Pokemon YouTubers and Twitch streamers often feature pseudo-legendaries in their videos and streams, showcasing creative strategies and team compositions. Shiny hunting streams for pseudo-legendaries attract thousands of viewers, with audiences cheering on the streamer as they soft reset hundreds or thousands of times in pursuit of that rare shiny encounter. Nuzlocke challenges featuring pseudo-legendaries create dramatic moments, as the loss of a fully trained Garchomp or Salamence can be devastating to both the streamer and the audience. These content creators have helped popularize pseudo-legendaries among new generations of players, ensuring their continued relevance in the modern era. The speedrunning community has also developed interesting relationships with pseudo-legendaries. In many Pokemon speedruns, pseudo-legendaries are avoided due to their late evolution levels and the time required to train them. However, some speedrunners have developed strategies that incorporate pseudo-legendaries into specific categories, such as 100% completion runs or post-game speedruns. The challenge of efficiently leveling a pseudo-legendary while still maintaining a competitive time adds an extra layer of difficulty to these runs, and successful speedrunners who can incorporate pseudo-legendaries into their routes are highly respected within the community. The trading card game has also featured pseudo-legendaries prominently throughout its history. Dragonite cards from the early sets are now highly valuable collector's items, with some rare versions commanding prices in the hundreds or thousands of dollars. Tyranitar cards have featured prominently in competitive TCG decks, often serving as powerful Stage 2 Pokémon that can swing games with a single attack. Garchomp cards have been featured in multiple sets, with some versions becoming staples of competitive decks. The TCG representation of pseudo-legendaries has helped cement their status as iconic Pokémon, recognizable even to players who may not have engaged deeply with the video games. The Pokémon Go mobile game has also brought pseudo-legendaries to a new audience. In Pokémon Go, pseudo-legendaries are among the rarest and most sought-after Pokémon, often requiring specific weather conditions, events, or community days to obtain. Dragonite was one of the most powerful Pokémon in the early days of Pokémon Go, dominating gym battles with its high stats and powerful moves. Tyranitar became a staple of raid battles, often serving as a powerful counter to legendary raid bosses. Garchomp, Salamence, and Metagross have all been featured in Community Day events, giving players the opportunity to obtain these rare Pokémon in their shiny forms. The Pokémon Go representation of pseudo-legendaries has introduced them to millions of new players, many of whom may not have played the mainline games. The role of pseudo-legendaries in Pokémon lore extends beyond their individual Pokédex entries. In many regions, pseudo-legendaries are treated as legendary figures by the local populations, with myths and stories passed down through generations. In the Kanto region, sailors tell stories of Dragonite appearing during storms to guide lost ships to safety. In the Johto region, villagers living near Mount Silver speak in hushed tones about the Tyranitar that roam the mountain peaks, creatures powerful enough to reshape the landscape with their footsteps. In the Hoenn region, legends speak of Salamence soaring through the skies at speeds faster than the eye can follow, leaving only the sound of wind in their wake. In the Sinnoh region, ancient texts describe Garchomp as the guardian of the Polluted Desert, a creature that protects the harsh Badlands from those who would exploit them. In the Unova region, stories are told of Hydreigon terrorizing villages in ancient times, consuming everything in their path until brave trainers learned to tame them. In the Kalos region, Goodra is celebrated in folklore as a gentle protector of forests, a creature that brings rain to nourish the land. In the Alola region, Kommo-o is revered as a sacred warrior, a Pokémon that embodies the martial traditions of the islands. In the Galar region, Dragapult is spoken of in whispers, a ghostly dragon that haunts the foggy moors. In the Paldea region, Baxcalibur is seen as the king of the frozen peaks, a titan of ice that rules over the coldest regions of the land. These regional myths and legends add depth to the world of Pokémon, showing that pseudo-legendaries are not just powerful battle tools, but integral parts of the cultures and histories of each region. The stories told about these Pokémon reflect the values and fears of the people who live alongside them, and they help create a richer, more immersive world for players to explore. Understanding these cultural connections helps trainers appreciate pseudo-legendaries on a deeper level, seeing them not just as strong Pokémon, but as creatures with their own place in the tapestry of the Pokémon world. The environmental impact of pseudo-legendaries is another fascinating aspect of their lore. Tyranitar is described as a Pokémon whose mere presence can alter landscapes, with its footsteps causing earthquakes and its rampages reshaping mountains. This suggests that Tyranitar plays a role in the geological processes of the Pokémon world, acting as a natural force that helps shape terrain over time. Garchomp is described as a predator that keeps desert ecosystems in balance, preventing any single species from becoming too dominant. Goodra is said to bring rain wherever it goes, suggesting it plays a role in regulating moisture and supporting plant life in forested areas. Kommo-o's presence in sacred groves and mountain temples suggests it serves as a guardian of these important cultural and ecological sites, protecting them from those who would desecrate them. Dragapult is said to haunt foggy moors and abandoned ruins, suggesting it may play a role in decomposition and the cycling of nutrients in these ecosystems. Baxcalibur is described as a creature that lowers temperatures wherever it goes, potentially helping to regulate climate in mountainous regions and maintain glaciers. These environmental roles suggest that pseudo-legendaries are not just powerful individuals, but important components of the ecosystems they inhabit. The relationship between pseudo-legendaries and legendary Pokémon is also worth examining. In many ways, pseudo-legendaries serve as counterpoints to legendary Pokémon, occupying a similar power level but without the unique lore and restricted availability. This creates an interesting dynamic in the Pokémon world, where legendary Pokémon are seen as one-of-a-kind divine beings, while pseudo-legendaries are seen as exceptionally powerful members of their species. In competitive battles, pseudo-legendaries often find themselves facing off against legendary Pokémon, and their ability to hold their own in these matchups is a testament to their strength. The meta relationships between pseudo-legendaries are also fascinating to explore. Garchomp and Salamence both fill similar roles as dragon-type sweepers, but their different stat distributions and abilities make them suited for different strategies. Garchomp's higher speed makes it better suited for offensive teams that need to outpace opponents, while Salamence's Intimidate makes it better suited for teams that need to weaken physical attackers. Tyranitar and Metagross both serve as bulky attackers, but their different typings and abilities make them suited for different team compositions. Tyranitar's Sandstream makes it ideal for sand teams, while Metagross's Psychic Steel typing makes it ideal for teams that need a reliable check to fairy types. The concept of pseudo-legendary tiers has also emerged in the competitive community, with players debating which pseudo-legendaries are the strongest and most versatile. Garchomp is often placed at the top of these tier lists due to its combination of speed, power, and typing. Salamence is usually placed close behind, especially when considering its Mega Evolution. Metagross is highly valued for its defensive utility and Mega Evolution. Tyranitar remains a popular choice for sand teams and is valued for its incredible special bulk. Dragapult is often placed near the top due to its extreme speed and versatility. These tier lists spark endless debates and discussions within the community, with players arguing about the merits of different pseudo-legendaries and the contexts in which they excel. The phenomenon of pseudo-legendary team compositions has also emerged in competitive play. Some players build teams around multiple pseudo-legendaries, taking advantage of their high stats and versatility to create powerful offensive cores. A team featuring Garchomp, Salamence, and Metagross, for example, can cover a wide range of threats and apply constant offensive pressure. However, these teams can also be predictable and vulnerable to specific counters, such as Ice-type moves or Fairy-type Pokémon. The challenge of building an effective pseudo-legendary team lies in balancing their strengths while covering their weaknesses. The nostalgia factor associated with pseudo-legendaries cannot be overstated. For many players, their first Dragonite represents a milestone in their Pokémon journey, a moment when they felt they had truly become a skilled trainer. The memory of raising a Larvitar through the grueling levels to finally evolve it into Tyranitar is one that stays with players for years. The satisfaction of finally Getting Salamence after patiently leveling Bagon and Shelgon creates lasting emotional connections. These nostalgic memories are what makes pseudo-legendaries so special. They're not just Pokemon, but symbols of our own growth and development as players and trainers. The academic study of pseudo-legendaries has also emerged in certain circles, with researchers and theorists analyzing their designs, roles, and impact on the Pokemon metagame. Some academics have written papers exploring the game design principles behind pseudo-legendaries, examining how their stat distributions, evolution levels, and typings create balanced yet powerful Pokemon. Others have studied the cultural impact of pseudo-legendaries, looking at how they've influenced fan art, fan fiction, and community discourse. These academic explorations add another layer of depth to our understanding of pseudo-legendaries, showing that they're not just game mechanics, but cultural phenomena worthy of serious study. The philosophical questions raised by pseudo-legendaries are also worth considering. What does it mean for a Pokemon to be pseudo-legendary? Is it simply a matter of stats and evolution patterns, or is there something more? Does the term imply a certain dignity or status within the Pokemon world? How do pseudo-legendaries view themselves in relation to true legendary Pokemon? These questions may not have definitive answers, but they invite us to think more deeply about the world of Pokemon and the creatures that inhabit it. They remind us that Pokemon is not just a game, but a rich, complex universe with its own rules, hierarchies, and mysteries. The battle animations of pseudo-legendaries across different games also tell a story of technological evolution. In the early Game Boy games, Dragonite was represented by simple, pixelated sprites that conveyed its power through size and color, rather than detailed animation. The back sprite showed a rounded, friendly dragon, while the front sprite emphasized its imposing presence. These simple sprites were all that was needed to convey Dragonite's strength, and they became iconic representations of the character. As technology advanced, so too did the animations. In Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64, Dragonite received fully three-dimensional models and attack animations that brought it to life in ways the Game Boy never could. The transition to the Nintendo DS introduced even more detailed sprites with subtle animations. Dragonite's wings would flap gently, Tyranitar's armor would shift with each movement, and Salamence would sway menacingly as it prepared to attack. These small touches added personality to each pseudo-legendary, making them feel more alive and present. The jump to full three-dimensional models in Pokemon X and Y represented another massive leap forward. Now, pseudo-legendaries had fluid animations, detailed textures, and attack effects that showcased their power in stunning detail. Garchomp's earthquake would cause the ground to rupture and shake. Hydreigon's dark pulse would manifest as waves of dark energy, and Goodra's dragon pulse would shimmer with colorful light. The animations in Pokemon Sword and Shield took this even further with Dynamax effects. When a pseudo-legendary Dynamaxed, it would grow to enormous size, towering over the battlefield with clouds swirling around it. The Dynamax attacks featured spectacular visual effects, with massive beams of energy, explosive impacts, and environmental changes that made each move feel truly devastating. Baxcalibur's Max Hailstorm would blanket the battlefield in ice and snow, while Dragapult's Max Phantasm would summon ghostly apparitions. These visual improvements have helped keep pseudo-legendaries feeling fresh and exciting even for players who have been using them for decades. The sound design associated with pseudo-legendaries is equally important to their identity. Each pseudo-legendary has a unique cry that helps distinguish it from other Pokemon. Dragonite's cry is deep and resonant, suggesting both power and gentleness. Tyranitar's cry is a guttural roar that conveys raw aggression and dominance. Salamence's cry is a piercing shriek that echoes its aggressive nature. Metagross's cry has a mechanical, almost robotic quality that reflects its computational intelligence. Garchomp's cry is sharp and predatory, like the sound of wind rushing past at high speed. Hydreigon's cry is chaotic and discordant, reflecting its destructive nature. Goodra's cry is softer and more melodic, conveying its gentle personality. Kommo-o's cry incorporates metallic clanging sounds, reflecting the resonance of its scales. Dragapult's cry has an ethereal, ghostly quality that suits its ghost typing. Baxcalibur's cry is cold and piercing, like the sound of ice cracking. These cries are carefully designed to match each Pokemon's personality and design, and longtime players can often identify a pseudo-legendary by its cry alone. The sound design extends to attack animations as well, with each move having unique sound effects that enhance the sense of impact and power. The role of pseudo-legendaries in double battles deserves special attention, as their strategies and effectiveness can differ significantly from singles formats. In doubles, Tyranitar's Intimidate becomes even more valuable, as it can weaken two physical attackers simultaneously. Salamence benefits similarly, and the combination of dual Intimidate users can cripple physically oriented teams. Garchomp's Earthquake, while powerful, becomes a double-edged sword in doubles as it hits all Pokemon on the field, potentially damaging teammates. Skilled players work around this by pairing Garchomp with flying types or Pokemon with Levitate, allowing Garchomp to use Earthquake freely without friendly fire. Metagross's bulk and power make it an excellent choice for doubles, as it can take hits from multiple opponents while still threatening with Meteor Mash and other powerful moves. Hydreigon's special attacks can target specific threats without hitting teammates, making it a valuable special attacker. Goodra's bulk allows it to survive in the chaotic environment of doubles battles, and its ability to learn support moves like Helping Hand makes it a versatile teammate. Kommo-o's clanging scales hits both opponents, making it a powerful spread attack option. Dragapult's extreme speed allows it to move before most other Pokemon, making it an excellent lead in doubles. Baxcalibur's Icicle Spear can be used to break through Focus Sash or Sturdy, and its ability to hit multiple times makes it valuable for finishing off weakened opponents. The use of weather in conjunction with pseudo-legendaries has shaped entire competitive eras. Tyranitar's Sandstream ability made it the cornerstone of sand teams throughout multiple generations. Paired with Pokemon like Excadrill, which gains doubled speed in sandstorms, Tyranitar forms one of the most powerful weather cores in competitive history. The residual damage from sandstorm chips away at opponents, while Tyranitar's boosted special defense makes it nearly impossible to take down with special attacks. Sand teams dominated the metagame in generations 4 and 5, with Tyranitar appearing on a significant percentage of competitive teams. Goodra's synergy with rain teams, while less dominant than Tyranitar's sand teams, offers interesting strategic possibilities. Its hydration ability allows it to heal status conditions automatically in rain, making it incredibly difficult to wear down. Paired with Pokemon like Politoed or Pelipper that can summon rain, Goodra becomes a bulky special attacker that can outlast most opponents. The rain also boosts water-type moves, and while Goodra doesn't learn many water-type attacks, it can use moves like Muddy Water to take advantage of the weather. These weather-based strategies show how pseudo-legendaries can be central to entire team archetypes rather than just individual threats. The concept of pseudo-legendary cores, where multiple pseudo-legendaries are used together on a team, has led to some of the most powerful and memorable team compositions in competitive history. The Salamence and Metagross core, popular in Generation 3, combined a fast physical sweeper with a bulky mixed attacker. Salamence would weaken opponents with Intimidate and set up with Dragon Dance, while Metagross would clean up weakened teams with powerful attacks. The Garchomp and Tyranitar core, popular in Generation 4, combined a fast physical sweeper with a bulky special wall. Garchomp would apply offensive pressure, while Tyranitar provided sand support and special bulk. The Dragapult and Garchomp core in Generation 8 combined two of the fastest pseudo-legendaries, creating a team that could apply relentless offensive pressure. Both Pokemon hit hard and fast, overwhelming opponents before they could respond. The versatility of these cores lies in their ability to handle a wide range of threats, with each pseudo-legendary covering the weaknesses of the other. However, these cores can also be predictable, and experienced opponents know to prepare counters like Ice-type moves or Fairy-type Pokemon. The challenge for players using pseudo-legendary cores is to support them with teammates that can handle their common counters. The development of pseudo-legendary movesets over time reflects changing metagames and new move releases. Dragonite's movesets have evolved from simple physical sets in Generation 1 to complex mixed sets that take advantage of its balanced attacking stats. In early generations, Dragonite relied on moves like Body Slam, Hyper Beam, and Surf. Modern Dragonite sets might include Dragon Dance, Outrage, Extreme Speed, and Earthquake, taking advantage of its ability to boost its stats and sweep teams. The addition of Extreme Speed as a priority move gave Dragonite a powerful tool for finishing off weakened opponents, cementing its role as a late-game cleaner. Tyranitar's movesets have similarly evolved, moving from simple physical sets to specialized builds that take advantage of its unique strengths. Early Tyranitar sets focused on moves like Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Crunch. Modern sets might include Stealth Rock, Pursuit, Stone Edge, and Crunch, allowing Tyranitar to trap and eliminate specific threats while also providing entry hazard support. The development of Choice Band and Choice Scarf sets gave Tyranitar new roles as a wall breaker or revenge killer. Assault Vest sets transformed Tyranitar into one of the best special walls in the game, capable of taking hits from powerful special attackers and retaliating with super effective moves. Salamence's movesets have been shaped by its access to Dragon Dance and its later Mega Evolution. Early Salamence sets focused on moves like Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Hidden Power. Modern sets typically include Dragon Dance, Outrage, Earthquake, and either Roost for recovery or Fire Blast for coverage. Mega Salamence introduced Return as a powerful coverage option thanks to its Aerolate ability, which converts normal type moves to flying type and boosts their power. This allowed Mega Salamence to break through defensive walls that would normally stop Dragon type attackers. The versatility of Salamence's movesets has kept it relevant across multiple generations. Metagross's movesets have benefited from its excellent move pool and balanced stats. Early Metagross sets focused on Meteor Mash, Earthquake, and Psychic. Modern sets might include Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Bullet Punch, and either Zen Headbutt or Ice Punch for coverage. The addition of Bullet Punch as a priority move gave Metagross a powerful tool for revenge-killing faster threats, while its bulk allowed it to survive long enough to use it. Mega Metagross sets often include Zen Headbutt, Hammer Arm, Ice Punch, and either Bullet Punch or Earthquake, taking advantage of its boosted speed and attack to overwhelm opponents. The development of Stealth Rock sets also gave Metagross a support role, allowing it to provide entry hazards while still threatening with powerful attacks. Garchomp's movesets have remained relatively consistent due to its excellent base moveset, but new options have added depth to its play. Standard Garchomp sets include Earthquake, Outrage, Stone Edge, and either Swords Dance or Fire Fang. Choice Scarf sets sacrifice power for speed, allowing Garchomp to outspeed and revenge kill faster threats. Substitute sets allow Garchomp to avoid status moves and scout for switches. The addition of Scale Shot in later generations gave Garchomp a new boosting option, raising its speed while dealing damage. Stealth Rock sets allow Garchomp to provide entry hazard support while still threatening with powerful attacks. The versatility of Garchomp's movesets is one reason it has remained competitively relevant for so long. Hydreigon's movesets have adapted to its role as a special attacker and its weakness to fairy types. Standard Hydreigon sets include Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, and either U-Turn or Flash Cannon. Choice Specs sets maximize Hydreigon's damage output, allowing it to punch holes in defensive teams. Nasty Plot sets allow Hydreigon to boost its special attack and attempt to sweep weakened teams. The introduction of fairy types forced Hydreigon to adapt its coverage, with steel-type moves like Flash Cannon becoming more valuable for hitting fairy types super effectively. The development of Taunt sets also gave Hydreigon a way to disrupt defensive teams that rely on status moves or recovery. Goodra's movesets have focused on its role as a special wall and rain abuser. Standard Goodra sets include Draco Meteor, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, and either Thunderbolt or Ice Beam for coverage. Assault Vest sets maximize Goodra's special bulk, allowing it to wall powerful special attackers. Rest and Sleep Talk sets take advantage of Goodra's hydration ability on rain teams, allowing it to heal repeatedly while dealing consistent damage. Dragontail sets allow Goodra to phase opponents and rack up entry hazard damage. The versatility of Goodra's movesets allows it to fit on a variety of team archetypes, from defensive rain teams to balanced builds that need a reliable special wall. Kommo-o's movesets have evolved as players discovered its unique strengths. Standard Kommo-o sets include Clanging Scales, Close Combat, Poison Jab, and either Dragon Dance or Clangorous Soul. Throat Spray sets take advantage of Clanging Scales to boost special attack, transforming Kommo-o into a powerful mixed attacker. Choice Specs sets maximize damage output, but sacrifice flexibility. Substitute sets allow Kommo-o to avoid status moves and set up safely. The introduction of Clangorous Soul, a move that boosts all stats at the cost of HP, gave Kommo-o a powerful setup option that can turn it into an unstoppable sweeper if given the opportunity. The challenge with Kommo-o is its relatively low speed and quad weakness to Fairy, which requires careful team support. Dragapult's movesets have been shaped by its extreme speed and versatility. Standard Dragapult sets include Dragon Darts, Shadow Ball, U-Turn, and either Fire Blast or Sucker Punch. Choice Specs sets maximize damage output, allowing Dragapult to hit incredibly hard with special attacks. Physical sets using Phantom Force, Dragon Darts, and U-Turn take advantage of Dragapult's solid attack stat. Will-O-Wisp sets allow Dragapult to cripple physical attackers while still threatening with powerful attacks. The flexibility of Dragapult's movesets is one reason it dominated Generation 8's competitive scene, as opponents could never be sure which set they were facing until it was too late. Baxcalibur's movesets have focused on maximizing its physical power and unique ability. Standard Baxcalibur sets include Icicle Spear, Earthquake, Glaive Rush, and either Dragon Dance or Ice Shard. Loaded Dice is typically the held item of choice, as it maximizes the number of hits from Icicle Spear, turning it into a devastating multi-hit attack. Swords Dance sets allow Baxcalibur to boost its already high attack to extreme levels, while Ice Shard sets provide priority for revenge killing. The introduction of Thermal Exchange as an ability completely changed how opponents approach Baxcalibur, as Fire-type moves now boost its attack rather than dealing super effective damage. This forces opponents to use other coverage options like Fighting, Rock, or Steel-type moves. The technical aspects of pseudo-legendary usage, including EV spreads, nature selection, and ability choices, require deep understanding of game mechanics. A standard offensive Garchomp might run 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP with a Jolly Nature to maximize speed. However, in certain metagames where Garchomp outspeeds most relevant threats even without maximum speed investment, players might opt for an adamant nature to boost attack instead, accepting the speed drop in exchange for more power. Similarly, bulkier Garchomp spreads might invest in HP and defense to survive specific attacks, sacrificing some offensive presence for improved bulk. Tyranitar's EV spreads can vary wildly depending on its role. A special wall, Tyranitar might run 252 HP, 252 special defense, and 4 attack with a careful nature and assault vest, maximizing its ability to take special hits. An offensive Tyranitar might run 252 attack, 252 speed, and 4 HP with an adamant nature and choice band, maximizing its immediate damage output. Some players even run mixed Tyranitar sets with investment in both attack and special attack, allowing it to surprise opponents with unexpected coverage moves. The flexibility in EV distribution allows Tyranitar to fill multiple roles depending on team needs. The prediction and mind games that occur in battles involving pseudo-legendaries add another layer of depth to competitive play. When a Salamence and an opposing Pokémon face off, both players must predict what the other will do. Will the Salamence user go for Dragon Dance, predicting a switch? Will the opponent stay in and attack, or will they switch to a counter, like a Steel-type or an Ice-type Pokémon? If the Salamence user predicts a switch to a Steel-type, they might opt for Earthquake instead of Dragon Dance. If the opponent predicts the Earthquake, they might switch to a Flying type instead. These layers of prediction and counter-prediction create mind games that separate good players from great ones. Garchomp creates similar prediction scenarios. When Garchomp faces a potential Ice-type switch, the Garchomp user must decide whether to stay in and attack, potentially knocking out the Ice-type before it can move, or switch out to a teammate that can handle Ice-types. If the opponent predicts the switch and stays in with their current Pokémon, they gain a free turn to set up or attack. If the Garchomp user predicts their prediction and stays in, they might catch the opponent off guard. These mind games occur in every battle involving pseudo-legendaries, and mastering them is essential for competitive success. The impact of pseudo-legendaries on team-building philosophy extends beyond just their individual strength. When building a team, players must consider how each Pokémon supports the others and how they handle common threats. A team built around Garchomp must have answers to Ice types like Weevil, Mamoswine, or Kyurem. A team built around Salamence must have answers to Steel types like Ferrothorn, Skarmory, or Heatran. A team built around Tyranitar must have answers to fighting types like Conkeldurr, Terrakion, or Keldeo. The process of building a team that can support a pseudo-legendary while covering its weaknesses is a complex puzzle that requires deep understanding of the metagame. Defensive synergy is particularly important when using pseudo-legendaries. Dragonite pairs well with Steel types like Ferrothorn or Heatran, which can take Ice-type moves aimed at Dragonite. Tyranitar pairs well with Fighting type, resists like Psychic types or Ghost types. Salamence pairs well with the fairy types like Clefable or Azumarill, which can take dragon-type moves, and ice-type moves aimed at Salamence. Garchomp pairs well with bulky water types like Rotom Wash or Gastrodon, which can take ice-type moves and provide stealth rock support. These defensive cores create teams that are greater than the sum of their parts, with each Pokémon covering the other's weaknesses. Offensive synergy is equally important. Tyranitar pairs well with fighting types like Conkeldurr or Terrakion, which can break through the steel types and normal types that resist Tyranitar's attacks. Garchomp pairs well with fairy types or special attackers that can break through physical walls. Dragapult pairs well with physical attackers that can break through special walls. These offensive cores apply pressure from multiple angles, making it difficult for opponents to find safe switch-ins. The art of team building with pseudo-legendaries involves balancing defensive synergy with the offensive pressure, creating teams that can both survive attacks and threaten opponents. The historical evolution of pseudo-legendary viability across generations reveals fascinating trends. Dragonite has remained consistently viable from Generation 1 through Generation 9, adapting to each new metagame with new movesets and strategies. Tyranitar has similarly remained relevant, though its dominance has waxed and waned depending on the popularity of fighting types and other threats. Salamence saw a surge in popularity with its Mega Evolution in Generation 6, only to fall back somewhat when Mega Evolutions were removed in Generation 8. Metagross followed a similar pattern, dominating in Generation 3 and 6, but struggling somewhat in generations where Steel and Psychic types were less favored. Garchomp's viability peaked in Generation 4, where it was so dominant it was banned to Ubers in some formats. It has remained competitively relevant in every generation since, though the introduction of fairy types and faster threats has forced it to adapt. Hydreigon struggled significantly after fairy types were introduced, as its quad weakness to fairy moves made it much easier to counter. However, skilled players continued to use it by carefully managing matchups and providing adequate support. Goodra has seen niche use throughout its existence, primarily on rain teams where its hydration ability shines. Kommo-o has struggled to find its place in the competitive meta due to its typing and speed tier, but dedicated players have found success with careful team building. Dragapult dominated Generation 8's competitive scene, appearing on a huge percentage of teams in official tournaments and online battles. Its extreme speed and versatility made it difficult to counter, and it shaped the entire metagame around itself. Baxcalibur has similarly dominated early Generation 9 with its unique ability and high attack, making it a premier threat. The cyclical nature of pseudo-legendary viability shows that even the strongest Pokémon can fall out of favor, while older pseudo-legendaries can find new life with metagame shifts or new tools. The social dynamics of pseudo-legendary ownership and trading have also created interesting phenomena in the Pokémon community. In the early days of the series, owning a fully trained Dragonite or Tyranitar was a status symbol, proof that a player had invested significant time and effort into the game. Trading pseudo-legendaries was a major social event, often requiring trust between players and creating lasting friendships. The introduction of online trading made pseudo-legendaries more accessible, but also created new challenges like scams and hacked Pokémon. The community developed informal rules and verification methods to ensure fair trades, creating a complex social ecosystem around pseudo-legendary ownership. The breeding community has also formed around pseudo-legendaries, with players dedicating hundreds of hours to breeding perfect competitive specimens. Breeding for perfect IVs, the right nature, the hidden ability, and egg moves requires patience and knowledge. Some players specialize in breeding specific pseudo-legendaries, becoming known in the community as the go-to source for competitive ready Garchomp or Salamence. These breeders often share their products freely or trade them for other rare Pokémon, creating a gift economy within the competitive community. The satisfaction of breeding a perfect pseudo-legendary and seeing it succeed in competitive battles is immense, adding another layer to the pseudo-legendary experience. The shiny hunting community has also embraced pseudo-legendaries, with shiny Garchomp, Dragonite, and Metagross being among the most sought-after shiny Pokémon. The rarity of pseudo-legendaries combined with the low shiny rate creates a challenging hunt that can take weeks or months. Some hunters use the Masuda method, breeding Pokémon from different language games to increase shiny odds. Others use soft resetting, repeatedly restarting the game until a shiny appears. The most dedicated hunters use methods like chain fishing or SOS battles to maximize their chances. The moment a shiny pseudo-legendary finally appears after hundreds or thousands of attempts is euphoric, and the resulting Pokémon becomes a prized possession. The representation of pseudo-legendaries in fan-created content showcases their cultural impact. Fan artists create stunning artwork depicting pseudo-legendaries in dramatic poses, peaceful scenes, or humorous situations. Fan fiction writers craft stories exploring the lives of pseudo-legendaries and their trainers, adding depth and personality to these creatures. Fan game developers often include pseudo-legendaries as major encounters or post-game rewards, recognizing their importance to the Pokémon experience. Fan musicians create remixes and original compositions inspired by pseudo-legendary battle themes. This wealth of fan content demonstrates the deep connection players feel to these Pokémon. The meme culture surrounding pseudo-legendaries has also flourished online. Garchomp's shark-like design has inspired countless shark-related memes. Goodra's slimy appearance has led to humorous comparisons and exaggerated reactions. Dragapult's habit of launching Dreepy has spawned memes about child endangerment and unconventional parenting. Baxcalibur's dinosaur design has led to comparisons with other popular dinosaur media. These memes, while lighthearted, demonstrate the affection and recognition pseudo-legendaries have achieved in internet culture. They show that pseudo-legendaries have transcended the games to become recognizable cultural icons. The psychology of using pseudo-legendaries in battle reveals interesting patterns in player behavior and decision-making. Players who use pseudo-legendaries often feel more confident in their strategies, trusting in the high stats and proven track records of these Pokémon. This confidence can lead to better performance as players make bolder predictions and more aggressive plays. However, it can also lead to over-reliance, where players lean too heavily on their pseudo-legendary and fail to adapt when it's countered. The best players balance confidence with flexibility, knowing when to rely on their pseudo-legendary and when to switch to other team members. The psychological impact of facing a pseudo-legendary is equally significant. When an opponent sends out a Garchomp or Salamence, players often feel increased pressure, knowing they're facing a powerful threat that can sweep their team if not handled correctly. This pressure can lead to suboptimal plays, with players making overly defensive or overly aggressive decisions out of fear. Experienced players learn to stay calm when facing pseudo-legendaries, treating them as serious threats, but not insurmountable ones. The mental game of competitive Pokémon involves managing both your own emotions and attempting to influence your opponents, and pseudo-legendaries play a major role in this psychological warfare. The future possibilities for pseudo-legendaries are also exciting to contemplate. Could we see a pseudo-legendary with a unique stat total breaking the traditional 600 benchmark? Might future games introduce pseudo-legendaries with 4 stages of evolution instead of 3? Could we see pseudo-legendaries with regional forms that dramatically alter their typings and roles? Will Game Freak introduce new abilities or signature moves that redefine how pseudo-legendaries are used? The potential for innovation within the pseudo-legendary formula is vast, and Game Freak has shown a willingness to experiment and push boundaries. Whatever the future holds, it's certain that pseudo-legendaries will continue to evolve and surprise us, just as they have for nearly 3 decades. The educational value of pseudo-legendaries extends beyond the games themselves. Learning to use pseudo-legendaries effectively teaches valuable skills like strategic thinking, resource management, and long-term planning. Understanding type matchups, stat calculations, and damage formulas requires mathematical thinking and analytical skills. Building teams and predicting opponent moves develops critical thinking and problem-solving abilities. The patience required to train a pseudo-legendary from its first stage to its final form teaches perseverance and delayed gratification. These skills transfer to real life, making the pseudo-legendary experience not just entertaining, but genuinely educational. Accessibility initiatives in recent Pokemon games have also affected how players obtain and train pseudo-legendaries. Easier level grinding through experience candies and auto-battling has made reaching those high evolution levels less tedious. The introduction of nature mints and bottle caps has reduced the need for extensive breeding, allowing more players to create competitive pseudo-legendaries. The inclusion of pseudo-legendaries in max raid battles and Terra raids has made them more accessible to players who might not have the patience to train them from their first stages. While some purists lament these changes, they have opened up the pseudo-legendary experience to a wider audience. The documentation and archival of pseudo-legendary strategies and histories has become a community effort. Websites like Smogon compile strategy guides, usage statistics, and historical information about pseudo-legendaries across all generations. YouTube channels archive famous battles featuring pseudo-legendaries, preserving memorable moments for future generations. Wikis and databases catalog every detail about pseudo-legendaries, from their base stats to their Pokédex entries. This wealth of information ensures that knowledge about pseudo-legendaries is preserved and accessible, allowing new players to learn from the experiences of veterans. The specific training methods players have developed for pseudo-legendaries showcase the creativity and dedication of the community. Speedrunning the training process involves carefully planned routes through the game, battling specific trainers that give optimal experience while avoiding unnecessary encounters. Some players create detailed spreadsheets calculating the exact number of battles needed to reach each evolution level, optimizing their time investment. Others develop training routines that involve cycling between specific areas, using experience-enhancing items like the Lucky Egg or Exp Share to accelerate growth. These methods transform the lengthy process of raising a pseudo-legendary into a more manageable and efficient experience. The use of daycare and breeding facilities has also streamlined pseudo-legendary training. In earlier generations, leaving a Pokemon at the daycare would cause it to gain levels slowly over time, allowing players to train pseudo-legendaries passively while they explored other areas of the game. Modern games have replaced this with breeding mechanics that allow players to hatch eggs with better stats and movesets than wild-caught specimens. Some dedicated players breed dozens or hundreds of eggs in search of the perfect pseudo-legendary, checking each hatched Pokemon's opponent's stats and discarding those that don't meet their standards. This breeding process, while time-consuming, ensures that the final pseudo-legendary is as strong as possible. The phenomenon of pseudo-legendary rivalries has created memorable moments in competitive play. The Garchomp versus Salamence debate has raged for years, with players arguing about which dragon-type pseudo-legendary is superior. Garchomp supporters point to its higher speed and better defensive typing, while Salamence supporters emphasize its Intimidate ability and access to Mega Evolution. Similarly, the Dragonite versus Tyranitar debate compares the original pseudo-legendary to its Generation 2 successor, with each having distinct advantages. These friendly rivalries create engaging discussions and push players to explore the strengths and weaknesses of each pseudo-legendary more deeply. The role of pseudo-legendaries in Nuzlocke challenges adds dramatic tension to these self-imposed difficulty runs. In a Nuzlocke, where Pokémon that faint are considered dead and must be permanently boxed, losing a fully trained pseudo-legendary can be devastating. Players form deep emotional attachments to their pseudo-legendaries during Nuzlockes, as the permadeath rule makes every battle feel meaningful. The moment a Garchomp or Salamence survives a critical hit that should have knocked it out becomes a celebration, while the loss of a pseudo-legendary to an unexpected move can be genuinely heartbreaking. These emotional highs and lows make Nuzlocke runs featuring pseudo-legendaries some of the most compelling content in the Pokémon community. The specific battle scenarios where pseudo-legendaries shine reveal their true power. Facing an opponent with 3 Pokémon remaining while you have only your Garchomp creates a thrilling comeback scenario. If Garchomp can set up a Dragon Dance or Swords Dance without being knocked out, it might be able to sweep the remaining team. The tension builds with each move as you calculate damage, predict switches, and hope your predictions are correct. When Garchomp successfully sweeps the remaining team, the satisfaction is immense. These clutch moments define competitive play and create lasting memories. The defensive utility of pseudo-legendaries in specific matchups often goes unrecognized. Tyranitar checking Volcarona, one of the most dangerous setup sweepers, showcases its value beyond pure offense. Volcarona's Quiver Dance boosts threaten to overwhelm most teams, but Tyranitar's Sandstorm chip damage and Stone Edge can eliminate Volcarona before it becomes unstoppable. Metagross checking fairy types like Clefable demonstrates its defensive value, using its steel typing to resist fairy moves while threatening back with Iron Head or Meteor Mash. Goodra checking Rotom Wash or other special attackers shows how bulk can be just as valuable as speed or attack. These defensive roles are less flashy than offensive sweeps, but equally important to team success. The mind games involved in pseudo-legendary mirror matches add another layer of complexity. When 2 Garchomps face each other, both trainers know that the faster Garchomp will likely win, as it can attack first with a super effective Dragon-type move. This creates intense prediction scenarios where players must decide whether to attack, expecting to be faster, or switch out to a teammate that resists dragon moves. If both players predict each other's switches and both switch out, the result is a neutral exchange where neither gains advantage. If one player predicts the switch and stays in while the other switches, the player who stayed in gains a free turn to attack or set up. These multi-layered predictions separate skilled players from beginners. The phenomenon of pseudo-legendary specialists in the competitive community has created recognizable personalities. Some players become known for their expertise with specific pseudo-legendaries, innovating new sets and strategies that others adopt. A player might become famous for their creative Hydreigon sets that catch opponents off guard, or for their defensive Tyranitar spreads that survive attacks that would normally be lethal. These specialists contribute to the metagame by discovering new ways to use familiar Pokémon, pushing the boundaries of what's considered optimal. Their innovations often filter down to the broader community, influencing how thousands of players build and battle with pseudo-legendaries. The impact of item restrictions and bans on pseudo-legendary viability has shaped competitive formats. The ban of Soul Dew in some formats opened up opportunities for pseudo-legendaries to thrive without competition from overpowered Latios and Latias. The restriction of Megastones in certain formats forced players to rely on base form pseudo-legendaries, leading to innovation in non-mega sets. The introduction of Dynamax and its later ban in some formats created shifting metas where pseudo-legendaries had to adapt to new power levels. These format changes ensure that the competitive scene remains fresh and that pseudo-legendaries must continually evolve to remain relevant. The storytelling potential in pseudo-legendary evolution moments has inspired countless player narratives. The moment your Bagon finally evolves into Salamence, after hours of training, feels like witnessing a dream come true, both for the Pokémon and the trainer. The anticipation as your Larvitar reaches level 54, knowing that Pupitar is about to become the mighty Tyranitar, creates genuine excitement. These evolution moments are often shared on social media, with players posting screenshots or videos of their newly evolved pseudo-legendaries, celebrating the culmination of their efforts. The community responds with congratulations and shared stories of their own pseudo-legendary journeys, creating bonds between players who understand the investment required. The role of pseudo-legendaries in building confidence for newer players cannot be overstated. A beginning player who manages to raise a Dragonite or Garchomp gains confidence in their ability to commit to long-term goals and see them through. This confidence often extends beyond Pokemon, teaching valuable life lessons about patience, perseverance, and the rewards that come from dedication. The skills developed while training pseudo-legendaries, from strategic planning to resource management to pattern recognition, transfer to other games and real-world challenges. This educational aspect makes pseudo-legendaries valuable beyond their entertainment value. The aesthetic appeal of pseudo-legendaries has influenced broader design trends in the franchise. The success of Garchomp's sleek, predatory design influenced later Pokémon like Dragapult, which shares similar aerodynamic features. Tyranitar's kaiju-inspired appearance paved the way for other monster like Pokémon designs. Dragonite's friendly yet powerful aesthetic established that not all dragons need to look fearsome. These design philosophies have shaped how Game Freak approaches creating new Pokémon, balancing power with personality and aggression with approachability. The visual legacy of pseudo-legendaries extends throughout the entire Pokédex. The specific type coverage that pseudo-legendaries provide makes them valuable for completing player collections and game objectives. Garchomp's ground typing makes it excellent for battling electric types and rock types encountered throughout the game. Tyranitar's rock and dark typing provides coverage against flying, bug, ghost, and psychic types. Salamence's dragon and flying typing offers neutral or super effective coverage against many common types. This versatility means that pseudo-legendaries often become permanent team members, useful from the moment they're fully evolved until the post-game content. Their ability to handle multiple roles reduces the need for specialized team members. The challenge of obtaining hidden abilities for pseudo-legendaries has created its own minigame within the Pokémon experience. Dragonite's multi-scale is highly sought after, requiring players to either participate in special events, use max raid battles, or breed from existing Hidden ability specimens. The effort required to obtain these rare abilities adds another layer of investment to the pseudo-legendary experience. Players who manage to obtain hidden ability pseudo-legendaries often treasure them more highly than standard versions, knowing the extra work that went into acquiring them. This creates a hierarchy even within pseudo-legendary ownership, with hidden ability specimens being particularly prized. The use of pseudo-legendaries in battle facilities, like the Battle Tower or Battle Tree, has led to refined strategies optimized for these specific challenges. These facilities often feature AI opponents with predictable patterns that can be exploited with properly built pseudo-legendaries. Garchomp sets designed specifically for battle facilities might include moves like Substitute or Protect to scout for super effective attacks. Tyranitar sets might focus on setting up Stealth Rock early to chip away at the opponent's team. These specialized sets differ from standard competitive sets, but are highly effective in their specific context, showing the adaptability of pseudo-legendaries. The community-created challenges involving pseudo-legendaries have added replayability to the games. Solo runs where players attempt to complete the entire game using only a single pseudo-legendary test both the Pokemon's versatility and the player's strategic thinking. Pseudo-legendary only teams, where players build a full team of 6 pseudo-legendaries, create unique challenges due to shared weaknesses, particularly to ice and fairy types. Speedrun categories focused on obtaining all pseudo-legendaries in a single game push players to optimize their routes and strategies. These community challenges keep the games feeling fresh years after release. The representation of pseudo-legendaries in different Pokemon media creates varied interpretations of these creatures. The anime portrays them as rare and powerful, but still attainable with enough dedication, matching the game's philosophy. The manga often depicts them as even more powerful, capable of feats beyond what's possible in the games. The trading card game represents them with high HP and powerful attacks that require significant energy investment, mirroring their late evolution levels in the games. These varied representations create a rich tapestry of pseudo-legendary lore that extends across multiple media formats. The seasonal and event-based distributions of pseudo-legendaries have created anticipation within the community. When Game Freak announces that a specific pseudo-legendary will be available through an event, players mark their calendars and plan to participate. These events often distribute pseudo-legendaries with special moves, rare abilities, or even shiny forms, making them highly collectible. The excitement surrounding these distributions shows the enduring popularity of pseudo-legendaries and the value players place on obtaining them through special means. Missing a pseudo-legendary event can lead to genuine regret and an increased value for traded specimens. The mathematical optimization of pseudo-legendary usage has led to complex damage, calculators, and team-building tools. Players input specific stats, moves, items, and abilities to calculate exact damage ranges for various scenarios. These calculations help determine whether a specific pseudo-legendary can survive certain attacks or knock out specific threats in one hit. The precision these tools enable has elevated competitive play, allowing players to make informed decisions based on hard data rather than guesswork. The community's development and maintenance of these tools demonstrates the depth of strategic thinking surrounding pseudo-legendaries. The cross-generational consistency of pseudo-legendary power levels has helped maintain game balance across multiple releases. While new pseudo-legendaries are introduced each generation, older ones remain viable through move updates, new abilities, and stat adjustments. This ensures that players' favorite pseudo-legendaries from previous generations don't become obsolete, maintaining the emotional investments players have made. The careful balancing act Game Freak performs, introducing powerful new pseudo-legendaries while keeping older ones relevant, is a testament to thoughtful game design. The role of pseudo-legendaries in establishing late-game difficulty has shaped player expectations. When players reach the Elite Four or Champion and encounter fully evolved pseudo-legendaries on opponent teams, they know they've reached a genuine challenge. The presence of these powerhouses signals that the game is testing everything players have learned, from type matchups to strategic prediction. Successfully defeating these pseudo-legendary wielding opponents provides immense satisfaction and marks players' progression from novice to skilled trainer. This difficulty curve, built around pseudo-legendaries, has become a core part of the Pokémon experience. The community debates about which pseudo-legendary is strongest have no definitive answer, and that's part of their appeal. Each pseudo-legendary excels in different contexts, with different teams against different opponents. Garchomp might dominate in one metagame, while Dragapult thrives in another. Tyranitar might be essential for sand teams, while Goodra shines on rain teams. This diversity ensures that player choice matters and that team building remains a creative, personalized process. The ongoing debates keep the community engaged and encourage players to experiment with different pseudo-legendaries to form their own opinions. The future evolution of pseudo-legendary design will likely continue to surprise and delight players. Will we see a pseudo-legendary with a unique typing combination never before seen? Will Game Freak experiment with pseudo-legendaries that defy the traditional three-stage evolution pattern? Will new, regional forms reimagine classic pseudo-legendaries for modern audiences? The possibilities are endless, and the community eagerly anticipates each new generation's contribution to the pseudo-legendary lineage. Whatever form future pseudo-legendaries take, they will undoubtedly be measured against the high standards set by their predecessors. The personal growth stories tied to pseudo-legendaries form some of the most touching narratives in the Pokémon community. Players often share tales of how raising their first Dragonite taught them patience during a difficult time in their lives. Others recount how mastering Garchomp in competitive play gave them confidence that extended into other areas. Some players describe forming bonds with their pseudo-legendaries during long hospital stays or difficult life transitions, with these virtual creatures providing comfort and companionship when it was most needed. These stories reveal that pseudo-legendaries are more than just game mechanics. They're companions on life's journey, digital friends who have been there through both triumphs and struggles. The technical achievements required to use pseudo-legendaries at the highest level of competitive play demand mastery of complex game mechanics. Understanding damage calculation, speed tiers, priority moves, weather effects, terrain effects, entry hazards, status conditions, stat boosts, and ability-soak interactions requires extensive knowledge. Players must internalize this information to make split-second decisions during battles, calculating whether their Garchomp can survive a specific attack or whether their Salamence can knock out an opponent in one hit. This mental mathematics, performed under time pressure during tournaments, separates casual players from competitive experts. The preservation of legacy, pseudo-legendary sets from previous generations creates historical records of metagame evolution. Old forum posts and strategy guides detail how Dragonite was used in Generation 1, Tyranitar in Generation 2, and so forth. These archives allow modern players to understand how strategies developed over time, how counters emerged, and how the community adapted to new threats. Studying these historical sets provides insights into game design, competitive evolution, and the creativity of past players. The ability to trace pseudo-legendary usage across nearly 30 years of Pokemon history, is a unique form of gaming archaeology. The rituals and superstitions players develop around pseudo-legendaries add personality to the training process. Some players insist on leveling their Larvitar only through battles against rock types, believing it makes the eventual Tyranitar stronger. Others have specific music they play while grinding levels for their pseudo-legendaries, creating personal training montage experiences. Some players refuse to let their pseudo-legendaries faint during training, seeing it as a point of pride to reach the final evolution without a single knockout. These personal rituals, while having no mechanical effect, make the training process more meaningful and memorable. The economic impact of pseudo-legendaries in trading markets, both official and unofficial, demonstrates their value. Competitively ready pseudo-legendaries with perfect stats, optimal natures, and hidden abilities command premium prices in player-to-player trades. Event-distributed pseudo-legendaries with special moves or shiny forms become highly valued collectibles. In games with internal economies, pseudo-legendaries often serve as high-value currency, with players trading multiple regular Pokemon for a single well-bred pseudo-legendary. This economic reality reflects the time investment required to produce quality pseudo-legendaries and the demand from players who want them. The mentorship traditions in the competitive community often center around teaching proper pseudo-legendary usage. Experienced players take newer players under their wing, explaining how to properly build and use Garchomp sets, when to bring Tyranitar into battle, and how to predict opponent responses to Salamence. This knowledge transfer ensures that collective wisdom about pseudo-legendaries passes from generation to generation of players. Many successful competitive players credit their mentors with teaching them how to properly utilize pseudo-legendaries, and they in turn mentor others, creating an unbroken chain of knowledge that spans decades. The symbolic weight of choosing a pseudo-legendary for your team reflects personal values and playstyle preferences. Choosing Dragonite suggests a player who values versatility and balance, someone who appreciates a Pokemon that can adapt to the multiple situations. Choosing Tyranitar indicates a player who values durability and strategic depth, someone willing to build an entire team around weather control. Choosing Garchomp shows a preference for speed and aggression, a player who wants to strike fast and strike hard. These choices say something about who we are as trainers and how we approach challenges, making pseudo-legendary selection a form of self-expression. The generational handoff moments, where older players introduce younger players or family members to pseudo-legendaries, create bonding experiences. A parent sharing their love of Dragonite with their child, helping them train their first Dratini, passes on not just a powerful Pokemon, but a shared experience and tradition. Siblings competing to see who can raise their pseudo-legendary faster create friendly rivalries and lasting memories. These intergenerational connections show how Pokemon, and pseudo-legendaries specifically, can bridge age gaps and bring people together through shared passion. The seasonal emotional connections to pseudo-legendaries also shape how players experience them. Training a Baxcalibur during winter, watching snow fall outside while your ice-type pseudo-legendary grows stronger in-game creates thematic resonance. Raising a Garchomp during summer, with hot weather matching its desert habitat, adds atmospheric coherence. These seasonal connections are personal and subtle, but they enhance the immersion and make the pseudo-legendary experience feel more connected to the real world. The memory of training specific pseudo-legendaries during specific times of year becomes intertwined with memories of those seasons themselves. The artistic inspiration drawn from pseudo-legendaries has influenced creators across multiple mediums. Illustrators study the designs of pseudo-legendaries to improve their creature drawing skills, analyzing proportions, anatomy, and color theory. Writers use pseudo-legendary training arcs as metaphors for personal growth in their stories. Musicians compose pieces inspired by the majesty and power of these creatures. Game developers studying Pokemon's success examine how pseudo-legendaries create satisfying long-term goals. The cultural reach of pseudo-legendaries extends far beyond their origin in Game Boy games, inspiring creativity in unexpected ways. The final moments before victory in a difficult battle, where your last remaining pseudo-legendary faces down the opponent's final Pokemon, creates cinematic tension. Your Salamence at half health, facing an opponent's Pokemon that could knock it out with the right move, time seems to slow as you make your decision. Do you go for the knockout, trusting in your speed advantage? Do you use a boosting move, gambling that you can survive one hit? These moments, where everything hangs in the balance, are what competitive Pokemon is all about. When your pseudo-legendary secures the victory, the rush of triumph is unforgettable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed drifting through these quiet moments, there's another video waiting on the left of your screen. Let it play while you rest. You might discover something gentle before sleep takes you again.